draft day, so you know we got you covered all day today, talking about the Eagles, talking about pick 32. But we also can't ignore being swept. It is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
I am in just such a state of bliss with this Eagles team when it comes to their evaluation with the draft. Whatever the Eagles' plan is right now, Johnny, it seems foolproof.
I think they can maneuver at any part of the draft because of their picks, the way they've gone about their draft, and I feel really, really good about it.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Thursday morning, day one of the 2025 NFL Draft, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, welcome to another new era, another new chapter in the world of football, in the NFL, the National Football League, as tonight we will see 32 new players in a league that we love, obsess over, talk about on a daily basis. And it's all 18-year-olds or however old these guys, 20-year-olds that are getting into it.
Well, yeah, more. This year's draft, I think, is the oldest.
Is that right? Wow, how about that?
Because of a lot of the COVID kids.
That's right. That's a good point.
So I think they were saying tonight the first two rounds are expected to be the oldest.
That's actually pretty interesting.
So because of the COVID kids, remember people getting extra years of eligibility,
yep. Yeah,
and things like that, which may or may not help teams.
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe it helps you. Maybe it.
The Louisville quarterback's 25 years old. Does that change the team's opinion on him?
More maturity, maybe that you've thing. And I'm going to tell you the respect I have, and obviously teaching some of these college kids, the respect I have for these COVID kids who had their high school years, some of their college years disrupted by the shutdown.
Yeah,
I have such respect for the way they've come through it. They're resilient. They're strong, and it should be a great night tonight. I'm so excited.
It's going to be so much fun.
I'm on the couch. What about you?
Couch, eventually bed.
See, now
late first round.
See, now I'm setting up because it's going to be a late night.
Oh, yeah.
I'm usually out by 11:37. I think the over-under, by the way, is 11:43 for the sign-off.
Right.
So that's around when you can expect that pick to come down.
It's going to be a late night.
And Howie may screw us all over.
He absolutely could.
Keep us up all night and then say, nah, we're good.
He absolutely
I'm happy
could.
to take responsibility for all of that.
Hey, Cleveland, take the fifth-year option, and then the Eagles take the first pick in next year's in the second round.
Let's just sign that off now.
I'd do that right now.
Out of the way. Today's day one of the NFL Draft. It's going to be a ton of fun. We still have no idea where the Eagles are going to go. We have no idea where half the league's going to go. I saw a mock draft this morning that we'll get into at some point today.
You are still checking today? You're still looking at it.
This is when I normally really check this week because
now, I'm avoiding today.
You avoid today. I look
today,
all week long.
I'm done at the mock. I'm done with the mock drafts now.
This is the one week I actually really look into it. But what's amazing is Walter Nolan, a guy that we've been talking about a lot. One mock draft had him falling out of the first round. One mock draft had him going in the top 15. Another mock draft had him going in the 20s. And then the a million mock drafts that we've reacted to where he's going to the Eagles.
I saw him at 9 yesterday.
That's just one player. That's one player. We're talking about the Shedeur Sanders, how it could go anywhere from 3 to 21. There's a defensive tackle that we've been talking about for a month now that could go anywhere from, to your point, 9 to out of the first round. So this draft's going to be a lot of fun. We can't wait for it. Andrew DeCecco is going to be with us for 2 hours today.
I love that. We're going to get deep into it.
And, of course, he's going to have the draft special tonight that we'll tell you more about. But here's where we're going to start today. Because the Phillies did lose yesterday. They got swept by the New York Mets.
They did.
And we'll hold off on reacting to the game itself. That will be the next segment that we do here in the 6 o'clock hour. But I want to try to spin this topic, because it is draft day, into a sort of overall Philadelphia sports discussion and your mentality as a sports fan. So yesterday, when the Phillies lost again, as I called them on social media, the It's Only April Phillies, because I got to hear about that constantly, I had a guy respond to me saying, oh, well, this is by Evan, by the way, Evan Ross. Oh, well, the Eagles won. We're good for a few years.
What?
So,
what is that doing for me in April?
I know that Evan is not alone when it comes to that. And I remember back in 2018 when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, we've talked about how the fan base changed
had the same thing
for the Eagles. there were people that didn't care about anything else other than the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. I am still getting tweets now. Evan Ross, just yesterday, following another bad Phillies loss, he doesn't care because the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Okay, you think this is pervasive? Like, do you think it's pervasive, or do you think Evan is an outlier? Gut instinct. I think he's an outlier.
I agree.
I think he's an outlier, but what's the outlier percentage? Like, I don't think
it's. I think it's. You're talking maybe a quarter of the fan base.
That's still a pretty nice chunk.
The only thing is, I think that I can understand where Evan was in 2018 because I feel like I was a little bit there.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I was one of those, but not after getting back to another Super Bowl and losing, going to another Super Bowl and winning. It changed my mentality.
I know, by the way, the Phillies in 2018 sucked.
Yes,
right?
They were terrible.
The Flyers were in the mode of in 1 year, out the next year.
Right.
The Sixers were relevant at the time, much more than they are now. Yeah.
Welcome to the moment.
Welcome to the moment.
Welcome to the moment.
But I want to know from how many people today out there, whether you do or do not, because I do not, do you allow the success of other teams to sort of lower your fire for the other teams that are not playing well? The Eagles and what they do, John, does nothing for my feeling toward the Phillies, the Flyers, or the Sixers.
How about, though, are you also putting this as, does it lower your vitriol?
No. You heard me yesterday. I was. You guys called me crazy for being pissed off to a loss.
I thought it was a little much.
What about
but
now?
The thing is, I admire I admire the energy. I love the energy of it.
You think the energy was after yesterday? They got swept.
Oh no, I was in Maxie's yesterday with other young people that were really enjoying themselves. Those young people,
sure, man.
They were enjoying their Wednesday afternoon on campus.
Oh, and it was a beautiful day yesterday.
It was gorgeous, and a lot of the kids taking their grad photos. And I can tell you, watching the 8th inning, 9th inning, and the extra innings, the young people are not in that mode. They were quite throaty yesterday about the Phillies.
Yeah, because they
were feeling it.
A horrible brand of baseball right
Terrible.
now. So I'm glad to hear that there are people, the younger people, Johnny.
They were younger and they were throaty.
Because you know what? They're realizing that they want more. But there are other people like Evan Ross and many others, and I'd love to hear from you at 610-632-0975, that have allowed the success of the Eagles to sort of lower their fire. I'm not saying you don't care or you're not watching. Evan is clearly watching. But for him to respond with, oh, well, to a sweep by the Mets because the Eagles won the Super Bowl, they are all separate entities. I can celebrate one and be angry with the other or sad with the other, which is the Sixers, or understanding the progress and the rebuild that the Flyers are going on. They're all their own sport. They're their own team.
Yeah, but wait a minute, though. I have a theory. We've had executives and stuff in this town that have had the burner accounts. It could be Rob Thompson's burner account. It could be, oh, boy.
No, it was too quick.
Maybe it's that attitude.
It was too quick after the game.
Oh, it was? So he wasn't on his phone?
I don't think Rob Thompson had his phone.
It could have been.
He doesn't seem to be a quick run-to-the-phone guy.
He doesn't seem to be a Twitter guy in general.
He doesn't seem to be quick at anything. Are you kidding me? Not quick on the uptake, I can tell you that much.
So today is draft day. Today is a celebratory day.
It is.
For the NFL and the Philadelphia Eagles. I can separate that from my anger with the Phillies.
I like that you can do that because we all should be able to.
But some people, either they can, I don't know if it's can or can't. Some people just don't care.
Or some people don't maybe want to.
Yeah, they'd rather just continue to live in the glow of the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. And I understand it to a point, but here's my thing. If you're not angry or disappointed with the Phillies right now, or what happened with the Sixers this year, just because the Eagles won the Super Bowl, you are letting them off the hook. And you, as a fan, should not do that.
Well, the Sixers, I think people just, they knew. If you knew basketball, you knew they weren't winning it.
Right. But
they knew that this was a fairy tale.
But to just say, see you next year, like, no. Hold them to it.
Right.
All right. So coming up next, speaking of the Phillies, we'll talk about the game itself because they lost. They got swept by the Mets. And Dave Dombrowski and his big bullpen addition of Jordan Romano once again looked horrible yesterday. It's Kincade and Salciunas on draft day. Thank God. I'm still in that state of bliss, Johnny.
Doesn't sound it sometimes,
With
but you're
the
getting
Eagles. We'll talk about it more here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now,
This hour of Kincade and Salciunas is presented by Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White, they're here for the pro.
It's 6:14 here on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. On day one of the NFL draft, we'll be talking about it all day today, but we'll also be mixing in the Phillies, of course, because the Phillies lost to the Mets yesterday, 4-3 in extras, and they were officially handed the sweep by the New York Metropolitans. the
Who
team
you
that I
all hate.
despise more than any other team in sports. So I'm going to try to control myself here.
Yeah, try to a little bit.
Again, the Phillies had 11 hits yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes, 2 days ago, they finished with 8 or 9. They're hitting the ball. They're just not having timely hits a lot of the time. Again, bases loaded in the top of the 10th yesterday with just one out, and you only end up scoring one run in that inning, which with the ghost runner on second base, sometimes you're like gifted a run,
Yes.
right? And it's up to you to continue to add on.
They were gifted that run, by the way.
Yeah,
They didn't hold Bryce Harper on.
Yeah,
and
that's
didn't
true.
try
I
and
mean,
throw
that was
him
a
out.
gift because he should have been, because they can't advance a runner. For God's sake, the Phillies, by the way, I did see one of the worst teams since the ghost runner at getting, with nobody out, getting the runner to third base with one out.
Oh, because
They are one of
just
the
trying to
worst.
swing for the fence.
They're one of
a
the
lot
bottom
time.
teams, and that is approach, and that's what.
Now
not
they
holding
did
anybody
drive in the
accountable.
run yesterday
Woo!
to make it 3-2, and then Jordan Romano comes into the game, and he gives up the double to Alonso. The ghost runner scores to tie the game up. Then the next guy gets on base. They put him on, and then the next guy hits Starling Marte hits a game-winning single up the middle.
Unbelievable.
A slider that was right over the heart of the plate that floated in there. And the Mets win 4-3. And so now you get swept by the Mets. You've lost 4 straight games. Your last 3 series have not been fun, even though you won the series against the Marlins. Actually, the last 4 series have not been fun. You didn't look too great against the Cardinals.
They're not looking good.
You split with the Giants. You beat the Marlins 2 of 3, but the game 2 was ugly. And then yesterday completes the sweep. And it's just another day of the Phillies losing, John.
I don't understand, though. One thing is because you did bury a little bit of the lead. They could have won the game and never had to go to extras.
Why is that?
If Nick Castellanos knows how to slide. If Nick Castellanos executes a regular baseball player slide, he's in there safely, easily.
I don't
He is in
think that
there.
was a
You're gonna
bad
rip him for
slide.
that?
Slides with his knee. He's not. If he extends his leg, that is an absolute slides right in there. They showed it 10 times. He didn't extend his leg. His foot doesn't go across the bag. He slides with his knee.
Yeah, sliding is a very instinctual last-second decision.
And that slide was like an unfolded lawn chair.
I don't think.
What do you mean where? They showed it 10 times and we're like
I
on the broadcast
understand.
going,
Like,
whoa.
if you think that's a bad slide, I don't
Yes,
know.
I do. Going in with your knee, yes, I do. That was
He didn't go in with his knee. He tried to get his hand in, go knee wide, and the catcher was coming back
it's
to the
all
plate.
just extend his leg.
the catcher.
He made the decision.
The catcher gets pulled off the plate because the throw is a little
and he
wide.
made the decision too late to slide.
No, he's trying to judge where the catcher. If the catcher swipes, let's say he does a quick swipe, right? And Castellanos does exactly what he does, then he's safe.
He could have been.
The catcher made a good play.
If he just goes in, if he extends his leg, he's in there easily. They showed it 10 times.
You're asking a guy to just do this. It's such a snap judgment decision. Like I saw a stolen base yesterday. I forget, it was 2 random teams. You know me, I watch nonsense. Where the guy steals second base, and as he's sliding, he lifts his left arm up. So the shortstop tries to tag the arm that goes up in the air, and
the other one is in with that one.
That's just.
He baited him in.
That's less. I mean, I can't. I'm not crushing Castellanos.
We're not crushing him. It's just they could have. It's another thing they could have done to win the game.
I'm not.
I don't know how many times they kept showing it over and over again, going, "Geez, there's the plate. It's wide open."
My first thought is not the Castellanos slide. My first thought is Jordan Romano once again
I
looking like crap.
I look at the non-execution with runners in scoring position.
There's a million things,
and the base is loaded. You can't get people home.
Well, the Phillies lose and they get swept. So coming up next, Rob Thompson spoke after the game, as he does every single day. And per usual, Johnny, he was very calm.
Calm?
On the other hand, Bryce Harper, I'm going to stare at the camera as Haley asks me to, disagrees with a lot of you. And I love it, Johnny. That and the latest Eagles mock draft next. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Finally, draft day. I'm Connor Thomas, and it's finally the day of the NFL draft. The draft will start at 8 p.m. tonight from Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Eagles, of course, hold the 32nd overall pick. And we've got some great draft coverage coming your way today with Andrew DiCecco, Bill Colarulo, and Tyrone Johnson, all live during tonight's first round. Also, Andrew DiCecco is going to join us in this show. We'll tell you more about that in a second. But a lot of people have had their eyes on a certain player. If defensive tackle Walter Nolan is on your wish list for the Birds, well, we talked to Adam Schefter yesterday and asked him about it, and he said, don't necessarily get your hopes up.
Philadelphia got lucky on Jalen Carter. It's not going to get lucky on Walter Nolan like that, okay? I don't think he's falling to 32. I would expect that he's gone somewhere in the teens would be my guess.
But the draft is a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen. We will see what happens this evening with the first round. We'll have everything you need to know ahead of the draft right here on The Fanatic. The Mets walked off the Phillies 4-3 in 10 innings yesterday to sweep the series in New York. Jordan Romano took the loss in extras. They'll have their first off day in 16 days today, and boy, do they need it. Then they're heading to Chicago for 3 against the Cubs starting on Friday. As mentioned, Andrew DiCecco will join us from the start of the 8 o'clock hour till the end of the show. This update is brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Tyrone Johnson.
I want nothing good to ever happen to the Mets.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. It is draft day. Coming up in a few minutes, I will give you the latest mock draft that I saw and who the Eagles will be selecting with said pick on a day where I literally don't know what's going to happen. Usually you have a bit of a feel about who could draft who and what could happen. We don't even know if the teams that are in the second and third slots will be making a selection tonight, Johnny.
If you went back to last year, did you think you knew that it was going to be Quinyon? Because we talked a lot about Quinyon.
We talked a lot about Quinyon Mitchell.
We talked a lot about we thought it would be a corner.
Right.
Last year.
I didn't think he'd still be there.
I didn't think he'd be there either.
I wanted Kool-Aid, so I definitely didn't know.
Yeah, you wanted Kool-Aid
I was a
McKinstry.
big
I mean,
Kool-Aid
right.
guy.
The year of, now I know the second day, everybody wanted Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
But we didn't think he'd be there either. We didn't think they'd be able to trade up to 40 and be able to get him.
That was a masterclass last year.
We didn't, one of us very documented on video, wanted Kyle Hamilton and was begging for Kyle Hamilton. And when they traded up,
You thought you got it.
I thought, there it is. They're getting Kyle Hamilton, baby. And they didn't.
They didn't. They got
And now
they
Jordan
got
Davis, Jordan Davis is a nice player.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton is an all-pro player.
All right. We will. I'll tell you who Peter Schrager
Ooh, okay.
has
I
the
like
Eagles
Schrager.
selecting
All
in a
right.
few minutes. But real quick, let's play a couple clips from Topper, and then I will read you quotes
Just to lift the mood a little.
I will read you quotes from Bryce Harper that may disagree with Topper, but will also disagree with a lot of the Phillies fans that have been
Okay.
in my mentions the last couple days. The number one player on your baseball team disagrees with you.
And his manager.
And his manager. Here was Rob Thompson yesterday after the game talking about he's not worried about the lack of hitting.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I think we're just going through a little bit of a run here that we're not driving the ball, but it'll come.
So again, they did have 11 hits yesterday. It's just they don't come through in big moments.
Okay, well, that's the storyline of this team for 3
Right.
years.
Well,
And he doesn't react to it. It's the storyline for 3 years. This isn't this week. This isn't this series. You keep mumbling the same crap over and over again. That's the same storyline we've watched since 2023 began. And he's acting like this is something that happened this week. Oh, we'll come on. I swear to you, motivational speaking is not going to be
I
in
will
Rob's
say,
future.
it does have to be exhausting to talk after every
No, it
game
is.
for
It is.
162 games.
Well, especially when you're trying to make crap up, it gets really exhausting.
Well, here he is talking about the Mets who swept the Phillies yesterday. He was asked if there's a gap between the two teams.
Do you think there's a gap between you and the Mets based off of this week?
No.
How do you?
No.
Why not?
Because we're a good team.
Oh, no. Oh, no. They kicked our ass last year in the playoffs when we were heavily favored. They just smoked us in a 3-game series here. They've got a 5-game lead in the division, but no gap. Again, it must be exhausting talking after every game when you're just talking that stupidity. That's stupid. That's just stupid.
What do you want him to say?
Yeah,
You know what I want him to say? Let's have Bryce Harper's comments, because that's what I want him to say.
I'll read you Bryce Harper's comments, but maybe a player can say it more than the manager. If the manager starts saying we stink.
No, a manager can say it more than a player. A manager. This is Bryce Harper having to say it because his manager won't.
I don't think Bryce Harper's saying anything based on Rob Thompson's
Let's
comments.
hear what Bryce Harper said.
Here's what Bryce Harper said, and again, I celebrate that he says this because it goes against what a lot of people in the Phillies fan base have been saying recently. He's done a couple things this year: anti-daycare,
Right?
which people love the daycare. He's squashed that. Like, I've loved a lot of the things that Bryce Harper has
He was
said.
the public face of squashing.
Yep.
Yes.
Here he was yesterday after the sweep. Quote, when asked about the "it's still early" thing, he responds with, "I'd rather you guys say it's a little early. I don't like that just because you should be wanting to play good baseball all year long from April to November. Obviously, that's not going to happen. You're going to go through ups and downs and try to stay as even-keeled as you can, but we're a good team in here, and we expect to win. Winning takes care of all of it. We've just got to win. It takes care of everything. It takes care of mindset. It takes care of what you're feeling. It doesn't matter if one guy's struggling or not. You come to win, and winning takes care of it all. As a
I
team,
love that.
we just have to be better. It's a really good Mets team over there. They played really good baseball this series, obviously, but it doesn't matter. We've got to really understand what we want to do and how we want to do it, where we want to go.
And he was also asked, too, about the gap.
Yes.
He thinks there's a gap.
He said, you can see that right now. They've played us really well, and they've beaten us. As a team, we've got to try to flip that, do what it takes to win games, no matter if it's the Mets or anybody else. We've got to understand that we're a really good team, too, and you're going to go through ups and downs in the season, but we've got to figure it out now.
It's not hard, to be honest. It's not hard to call exactly what it is. And Bryce Harper, bravo.
Yeah.
Bravo for just being honest with the fans because they watch the games. They pay attention. I'm not sure Sleepy Rob does.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a lot of fans that don't agree with what Bryce Harper just said.
I disagree because he said it both. He said it both. He still said, we're a really good team. We got to play a hell of a lot better, but there's a gap.
Well, he didn't say there's a gap.
Us.
He said they're playing us really well right now.
Yeah.
No, he said there is.
He did not. He said they're playing us well right now.
He did, and there is. But he says it. He says it. That's what he said.
He doesn't.
You're going to wordsmith it, Connor.
I'm not, John. You're making.
He
What did he
said
say?
you can see that right now.
You can see it. That's a gap. That means you can see it. That means there's a gap.
He was asked specifically.
Yes,
you can see
you
that
can
right
see it. There's a gap. Yes. Is there a gap right now? Yes.
When you say you can see it,
You said there's a
that's,
gap.
That's confirming.
No
the
wordsmithing
question.
needed. He answered it.
But here's the deal: when he says I'd rather you guys say it's a little early.
Right.
Like he's disagreeing with the people that say it's only April. Get over it.
But he also plays to them a little bit, saying, like, let's not burn the building down.
And yesterday,
and I like that part of it.
Yesterday, when we put out the video of me kind of losing my mind yesterday,
Yes.
there were the people that were like, "Come on, man, it's only April." And in that same clip, if you watched it, like 45 seconds in, I know maybe I'm so unbearable that you don't want to go 45 seconds. Talk to my wife. 45 seconds in, I say, I'm not saying that they're not a playoff team. I'm not saying that they're not a championship contender. I still believe that they're a playoff team. But that doesn't mean you can't point out legitimate issues. This isn't, they're going through a rough patch right now.
No, it's not.
The bullpen stinks. And until it gets improved, it will continue to stink. Not hitting with runners in scoring position may eventually get better. They'll probably eventually find the league average. But until they do that, whether it's approach, whether it's they're too tight right now because they have the expectations of being contenders, somebody needs to sort of break through that mold so they can play through it. I don't know what it is, but the fact is they're not hitting with runners in scoring position.
How many runs did they score in this series? Seriously?
They scored 3 yesterday.
7, 8 runs.
You're not winning. You're not winning with that. It's a 3-game series, and you're not winning against a really good baseball team, a team who does have your number. And again, thank you, Bryce Harper. It's not hard to just tell the truth. It's not hard to stand there and tell the fans, oh, no, there's no gap with us and the Mets. No, it's a 5-game lead, and the Mets kicked our ass last year in the playoffs, but there's no gap because we're a good baseball team. Then show it, Rob.
But a manager's role is different than a player's. Like, it is. Sometimes you have to have a different message, even if it's not the proper one for the fan base.
It could be a supportive message, Connor. It could be, yes, there's a gap. I can look right now and see 5 games, and I can look that they beat us last year in the playoffs. But you know what? I have faith in this team to turn it around.
Right, I got you.
You can be honest and still answer the question.
Maybe he does not want his team to feel like there is a gap. Like, maybe he's trying to talk them into it.
But his leader knows there is.
I do still wonder. Look, I have no sources here.
Right.
Does he say certain things behind closed doors that he doesn't say behind a microphone? I don't know.
Well, supposedly he is more accountable behind closed doors. More accountable behind closed doors. But the thing is, you don't pee on someone's leg and tell them it's raining.
Right, because
just tell it the truth.
Like you said, the Phillies fans realize there's issues.
This is a smart fan base. Don't do that.
Yeah, but I don't need the truth. I need winning baseball. I don't give a crap what Rob Thompson tells me or tells any fan. I care what he tells his players, and I care how they play. So if he lies to my face and they win, good job, Rob Thompson.
Well,
if he lies to my face and they lose,
they're playing like crap.
Yeah, you know what? I buy that they're in like the whole, we're kind of in just a rough stretch right now. You look at some of the ways that they're playing. The bullpen's terrible. Put the bullpen aside. In the past 4 starts, you've had 2 starters lifted due to tightness. That's a tough thing to get over, especially when your bullpen stinks. You had Aaron Nola throw, who's not doing anything right now. You still got to hold out hope somehow he gets better than this. And then they're hitting. They hit in the Marlins series. I know it's just the Marlins. They hit in the Marlins series, and they had hits in multiple games in this series. They're just not cashing in.
And the bottom line, though,
part of it, though.
Connor, on those numbers is great. They do not go at the end of the game. Okay, the Phillies out hit the Mets tonight. It's about runs. It's about doing the things, and they're doing the same things that they've done for 3 years.
I got you. But if you
It's not
continue
a
to
different
out-hit
story.
teams, you're going to eventually outscore teams. Like, it's not like they're getting out-hit and outscored and can't do
but you
anything.
know who they're going to outscore?
The Mets did finish with 10 hits yesterday, just one shy of the Phillies.
I got you.
And they're going to outscore.
It's not like the Mets scored 4 runs on 3 hits.
And you're going to outscore bad teams. You're going to win a bunch of games against bad teams.
They beat the Dodgers twice
This is
already.
what
They
you
split
gotta
with the
Deal.
Giants.
Coming up next, check our text line. Do you allow the success of the Eagles to either maybe lower your flame for the other teams, or do you look at them as different entities? Because I look at them as different entities, which is why I celebrate draft day and yet get pissed off about the Phillies getting swept by the Mets. We'd love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. Peter Schrager's mock draft. He has the Eagles taking a corner.
Ooh, I like it.
We'll talk about this coming up next. Also, for our Instagram yesterday, we were asked to give our dream pick for the Eagles tonight. Within reason. We will each give our answers, and we would like for you to chime in on that as well. It is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli, Bill Collar.
mock drafts and all kinds of stuff. And so Peter Schrager of now ESPN has the Eagles at pick 32 selecting a cornerback.
Okay, I told you this the other day. I don't mind this at all.
And you had
Depending
the
on who it is.
Sumer Sports
Right.
breakdown
That
where
corner's very valuable there. Like it's a good value pick.
So in case people want to know, first of all, Malachi Starks off the board at 30.
Wait, whoa. That would crush me.
Oh, that they didn't climb up 2 spots?
Yes. That would bother me.
James Pierce, the pick before, with the Chiefs at 31.
Wait a minute, is Commanders 30?
Commanders is 29. No,
Okay.
Malachi Starks to the Bills, which would
the
actually be a
Bills.
good pick for him. In case you're wondering, Shamar Stewart would go to the Commanders in this mock draft. He has, by the way, Walter Nolan going, I think, top 10. This may have been the one that you saw where
If he's 9.
11, sorry. 11
okay.
to San Francisco, which makes sense for the 49ers, but that early, I don't know, because he's all over the place. So he has the Eagles selecting Maxwell Hairston, cornerback out of Kentucky.
Okay, he's a nice player, and I know I've heard Andrew DiCecco discuss him.
Here was the write-up. The Eagles took cornerbacks with their first and second round picks a year ago, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't add to the defensive backfield considering the turnover this offseason. Hairston is a speedster. He ran a 4.28 second 40-yard dash at the combine, who was just scratching the surface of his talent.
I've heard Andrew DiCecco talk about him. I've watched him play a few times. That I think Andrew has some questions about his build, whether that's the ideal type of build. But we'll talk to him when he gets in here. I will smile ear to ear if they got a corner. I'd be fine. That'd be one of those because they need one. They need one because I do not. I am not, and I'm not trying to say that I doubt Keely Ringo.
Right.
I'm not trying to besmirch the young man. But Keely Ringo, and I've heard Tyrone talk about this on Best Show Ever a lot. If anybody is saying, oh, I feel good, just slide Keely Ringo into Darius Slay's spot, you're basing that on nothing.
I still have the tweet just burned in my brain, so I forget. I got to try to find it. Somebody tweeted out, he's been in the incubator for 3 years. Like,
what?
What does that mean? Like, okay, he's been studying and learning with Darius Slay, which is great. He's had Vic Fangio 2 of the 3 years because remember he was the senior assistant 3 seasons ago when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl and lost. So
and Keely is by the way still younger than some guys who are going to be drafted tonight,
which is amazing. But to your point, nobody knows if he's any good. And by the way, if they select a cornerback at 32 today,
it tells you everything you need to know.
That could be the referendum on what they believe about with Keely Ringo. All right, so yesterday, before we get to our text line at 610-632-0975, and I would like people to participate in this as well. Yesterday, our own Dylan McKinnon was walking around asking people for our dream pick within reason. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about Walter Nolan, but he's been all over the place. And Connor, you kind of said what I was going to say. You were going to say Walter Nolan, but because people now have him going within the top 15, it seems like that may be out of the question. So I ended up going with Mason Taylor just because you guys know how much I will be devastated when Dallas Goedert is not on this team anymore. Borderline devastated.
Borderline devastated. Would you be borderline devastated they got Mason Taylor?
Well, I would feel better if his replacement was drafted. Again, I've said this numerous times. I would have felt even more better if they did it last year and did the one more year of Goddard, like they did with Zach Ertz to Goddard, like they did with Selleck to Ertz.
Okay.
That's something that the Eagles have done where this year they may have missed the boat on that. Now, I'm not complaining about Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean by any means, right?
Correct.
But they may have missed the boat where they did the 1 year ahead of schedule decision.
Well, they drafted for need last year.
Right. Now they're going to have Mason Taylor, in this dream scenario, Mason Taylor's your day one starter as a rookie.
I'd love it.
And we'll see how that plays out. So what was your answer to Dylan on the Instagram feed?
Malachi Starks.
Yeah.
I want the dog. I was told we were getting another dog by a very reliable source that we would get another one.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that they are very, very high on somebody who also went to school at Athens, Georgia.
So
which would make me very happy.
Let's say he's still on the board at 30.
I'm telling
Taking
you.
the call to Buffalo?
No question I am. But again, is there bad blood between Buffalo and the Eagles right now? Because that's believe me, this stuff matters. I keep hearing about people saying trading with the Rams.
Yeah.
I'm just getting a gut instinct that unless Howie blew them away, the Rams are not trading with the Eagles. The Rams will not offer the 26th pick to the Eagles to get something
Here's
that
what
they
you do.
want.
You offer a second-round pick and a how to execute the Tush Push for Dummies book.
I could very well be.
And that you throw that one in.
Or give them a box of Kleenex.
Yeah, some tissues.
They can dry their tears.
Connor, what was your answer on the Instagram feed yesterday?
Ezeraku.
Okay. And that's a guy that a lot of people like. The question is he a top 20 pick? Is he in the early 20s? Is he falling? I mean, again, this draft is so exciting for me that there are guys whose ranges are like 15 to 20 picks.
Ezeraku is one of those guys, though, and the YouTube has some fun stuff you can watch on him, because I didn't watch much of BC.
I don't think anybody did.
But I think Ezeraku is one of those guys, to me, when Howie Roseman says, we don't have 32 players with a first-round grade.
He may be a second-round grade.
I think I think he would be one of those guys who they don't have a
and then you would trade back for him if they do like him that much. All right, if you want to send in your sort of dream scenario pick, again, within reason, it has to make sense. You're not saying Abdul Carter. Send them in at 610.
Mike maybe. Mike's likes that one.
Yeah, trading up to 4. Send them in at 610-632-0975, and I'm going to put Connor to work today. Connor's going to try to keep a tally of it, because I'm curious to see how many people have similar names. Do we have a similar direction? Is defensive tackle a name that pops up? Edge rusher? We know what the Eagles like, and obviously a lot of people live and die by what the Eagles do, so I'm sure a lot of people will have similar thoughts. So text those in. But, of course, also just our overall discussion of whether or not you allow the Eagles to impact how you feel about other teams, because I know there are a lot of people that drop I'm okay. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. What are the people saying on the text line this morning?
All right, so nothing on the tally yet, which I'll have to keep up with. If anybody texts in, I want the Eagles to draft a reliever, you're getting blocked. So Ben from Bucks County says, I 100% agree with the texter that the Eagles winning the Super Bowl negates anything that the Phillies do.
See?
Because it shows how superior in our city the Eagles are over every other team, which is true, and that's what I believe anyway. I'm a big-time Eagles fan.
Okay, you can be a
but
big-time Eagles fan. Be angry at the Phillies for being swept.
I don't blame people on this.
What was the beer commercial last year? It is both. It is both. It's not hard to multitask. You can be a big Eagles fan and be a big Phillies fan.
Look at me rocking. I got the Finks Hoagies Birds shirt on today.
Great shirt, by the way.
I got the Eagles cap on, and I'm angry that the Phillies got swept.
I mean, you could do both. There's enough bandwidth.
Scott checks in on Twitter because Haley and Brendan already got the video out of our main topic today.
Okay.
Yeah. Eagles winning the Super Bowl made the Sixers' disaster being far easier to stomach. And the Phillies, I go, Eagles won, who cares?
Wow.
I hate that mentality.
I hate it
Hold
too.
your teams accountable. I understand that I can't sway everybody's opinion, but this is one of those where you need to see the light and realize just because the Eagles won the Super Bowl does not mean you should say, you know what, Dave Dombrowski, it's okay that you allowed Estevez to walk, Hoffman to walk, and you signed Jordan Romano, who's got an ERA of $1 billion.
Let's mail in this summer.
That's horrible.
You don't have to see the light.
I need the people to see the light.
Hang on. We have to see the light. If you are a diehard 4-for-4 Philadelphia sports fan, you have to see the light. There are some people out there that they're like consuming of Philadelphia sports is 95% Eagles and a 5% group of everything else.
I think I've met quite a few of them.
Okay, and of that 5%, are you happy that the Phillies got swept by the Mets?
But it's not going to remotely, that's not a drop in the bucket for some people compared to how much they care about the Eagles.
I don't need them to get pissed off to my level. I understand that I'm more angry than the two of you, and you guys can multitask, right? So I understand. I don't need people to be at my energy, but the point I'm trying to make is if the Phillies are having bad decision after bad decision, I don't want you to go, it's okay. I'm going to buy tickets just to go to the yard for a nice, beautiful summer day.
Yeah, I don't think that.
No, but let your voice be heard.
But I also think, again, you're at a level this week that I'm not at. I just can't get at in April. I can't even fathom being at it in April. But I do agree with what Bryce Harper said.
Yeah.
It's not that early.
No,
Five games in the division is not that early. Yeah, you got to wake up. Got to wake up. Plenty of time to do it.
As I said yesterday on Twitter, 4 straight losses for the It's Only April Phillies. I get it's only April. I know it. They do not look like a good baseball team right now.
What did Justin Timberlake say? It's going to be May.
Next week. It will be soon.
A week from today.
All right, coming up next, we'll reset today's topics. Eagles on the table as well, 610-632-0975. But also, the Phillies are playing so bad right now, John, that national writers are finding wild stats. This one that I will give you next, I can't even explain. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Birds are almost on the clock. I'm Connor Thomas, and it's finally NFL Draft Day. The draft will start at 8 p.m. tonight from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And the Eagles, well, they're picking at 32 because they won the Super Bowl. That makes some people okay with a lot of things, Andrew Salciunas, but it means the Eagles are almost on the clock. They'll be drafting, we assume, at the back end of the first round, unless they make a trade up or trade out. We've got some great draft coverage of everything going on tonight with Andrew DeCecco, Bill Collarula, and Tyrone Johnson, all live during tonight's first round. Now, if defensive tackle Walter Nolan's on your wish list for the Birds, well, we talked to Adam Schefter about that, and he said that may be a dream scenario that's not coming true.
Philadelphia got lucky on Jalen Carter. It's not going to get lucky on Walter Nolan like that, okay? I don't think he's falling to 32. I would expect that he's gone somewhere in the teens would be my guess.
But things change quickly, so that's why we'll have to keep you updated on everything you need to know ahead of the draft right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. The Mets walked off the Phillies 4-3 in 10 innings yesterday to sweep the series in New York. Jordan Romano took the loss in extras. They'll have their first off day in 16 days today, and boy, do they need it. Then they're heading up to Chicago for 3 against the Cubs starting tomorrow. We'll talk to Andrew DeCecco from the start of the 8 o'clock hour till the end of the show. This update is brought to you by Summit Racing Equipment. Revive your ride at summitracing.com. Use promo code RADIO for $10 off an order of $100 or more. Exclusions apply. Offer ends 5/4/25. I'm Connor Thomas on your own for the best coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft, 97.5 The Fanatic.
We want to hear from you. Text us at 610.
do you allow the success of some teams, in this case the Eagles winning the Super Bowl back in February, to sort of temper your anger or temper your disappointment with other teams? And we are getting texts and tweets, even so far this morning, not just based off of the tweet I saw yesterday where Evan Ross tells me it's all good, the Eagles won the Super Bowl. We're seeing more and more people chime in here, Johnny, that say, yeah, I'm good. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. I can't live that way.
Thomas wants to know, Connor, are you in that boat? He said because by the way, he watches the Locked On Phillies.
Oh, thank you, Thomas.
Watches some of your contact there. But he wanted to know if Connors finds himself in that boat because he says, hearing some of your commentary, it sounds like it.
I'm not in the boat, but I'm like tied to the boat. I'm getting like dragged in a little dinghy behind it. Like I can never, because of what we do, partially, but also because of how passionate I am about all the teams in the city, I can never just be like, oh, well, I don't care what happens with this team. I don't care what happens with that team. But I think it's unhealthy to have happiness with one team and not let it leak over to next season's. Like, I'm not wiping the happiness and the joy and the bliss, you called it, Andy, from the Eagles Super Bowl. I'm not letting that just be, like, wiped for the 4 hours that I watch the Phillies every day or when I think about this team. Like, I'm a softer fan when our teams have success. And I'm okay with that.
Okay, so like you're being honest about that. I know I was softer the first Super Bowl, and I absolutely admit it. I disappointed myself.
I was booing week one, baby.
I was not.
The next year, I was booing week one.
No, but I mean, I've never let the Eagles affect the Phillies affect the.
Well, that's the other thing. That's what.
Like, to me,
that's the one I really don't get.
I don't understand it.
Like, it bothers me less, is what I'll say. It has nothing to do with the team. It has everything to do with my temperament.
Hold on. So you're watching the game, yes, right? They're on the verge of getting swept by the Mets. And Jordan Romano walks out to start the inning. And right away, double ties the game. You mean to tell me you didn't feel a little bit of anger yesterday?
No, I did feel anger, but the anger level is lowered, if even a percentage point, because another part of my sports life is so happy. If we're not going to be happier people when we win the Super Bowl,
I'm happier
what the
with
hell
the,
are
I'm
we
happier
winning
with
for?
the Eagles. It's like, remember the movie Split? The guy had 27 different personalities.
Split. That's not healthy.
I have 4 personalities when it comes to the 4 teams in this city that I truly care about, right? And if one's playing well, yippee-i-yo-ki-yay. If one is playing poorly, I'm going to be pissed off,
This isn't Die Hard.
And I watched the Phillies get swept by the Mets. I don't care if the Eagles beat the Cowboys the same day, 40-0. I'm going to be angry that the Phillies lost to the Mets.
I got you, but you are not considering the other side. You're probably softer too, and you're just not willing to realize it.
Do you think I'm acting any softer right now?
I think he's acting demented this week a little bit, Connor. I got to be honest.
Because could you imagine if this was coming off of the 2023 collapse by the Eagles?
I can't imagine it. I saw them choke a series to the Diamondbacks.
Take a deep breath. If it was the Eagles had just gotten their teeth kicked in all season long, and then the Phillies did this, we would be more angry because it's continued mess up. We'd be more angry with the Sixers. We'd be more angry with the Flyers. Like, there is a percentage, I think, of everybody that's a little bit, whether it's subconsciously or consciously.
I really don't think that's true at all.
You don't think you're happier overall because the Eagles won the Super Bowl?
No.
Well,
because the Phillies are playing bad baseball right now.
Overall, I got to tell you, when I strolled down, like tonight, be watching down in the Kincade, watch the draft. I got to tell you that every time I'm passing that new Super Bowl wall, I'm smiling.
Well, yeah,
but it doesn't affect my
Eagles.
But it doesn't. It makes me a happier Eagles fan.
Like, you know what I'm happy about today? It's draft day and the Phillies are off. That's what
nice,
I'm happy about
There's
today.
nothing I have to distract myself with.
Because if the Phillies were playing today, and I'm watching the draft, and I'm all excited for pick 32, while also watching Jordan Romano blow his 17th save, I'm going to be upset.
I get Connor. I get exactly where you're coming from. It's just I compartmentalize differently as a fan.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm a happier Eagles fan.
Yes,
I'm a
happier Eagles fan.
Like, I loved being in Jamaica in March and seeing people with Eagles stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's a beautiful feeling.
And teaching everybody at the resort to say, go Birds, not go Eagles.
Yeah, I don't
enjoyed
compartmentalize my life. I am who I am. I'm the same person. I'm a fan of all the teams all the time. And if one team makes me happier, I'm a happier person.
Wow. All right. I would love to hear from people on this at 610-632-0975. Does the success of the Eagles make things easier for you with other teams? I look at them as different entities because they are. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Before we get to our text messages, speaking of the Phillies. So CBS did a great write-up about like a bunch of trends in baseball right now. Like how Fernando Tatis Jr. is playing at a level that we've never seen him play before. And he was already a good baseball player, but now he's even more exceptional.
He's growing up.
One of the write-ups was about Kansas City's dreadful outfield. We can relate. The Phillies, here's what they said. The Phillies are making things hard on themselves. So they talked about, the bullpen issues. They've talked about the struggling play of Brandon Marsh, right?
I forgot about him.
Do you know that they are struggling so far through, how many games have they played? 25 games against the 9-hole hitter.
What?
In the order.
What are you talking about?
So
Johan Rojas? The other teams.
The MLB average against 9-hole hitters, all right? 9-hole hitters are batting .233 this year, .303 on base percentage.
Around baseball.
.332 slugging percentage. That's around baseball, yeah.
Okay.
So .233 batting average. 9-hole hitters against the Phillies this season through 25 games are hitting .342.
That's incredible.
9-hole hitters against the Phillies, their on base percentage is .405.
That's incredible.
The slugging percentage, again, league average .332 among 9-hole hitters. Against the Phillies, .513. Now, I can't explain that. That's something that you can't explain. That's something that
you can. You can explain it.
Try your best.
It's over a 25 game stretch.
It'll come down to earth.
So but it's a 25 game stretch. That means there's sometimes exhale moments.
Maybe.
Where you go, oh man, well we got past that guy. I mean, right now.
Yeah, but we got past the 8-hole hitter.
Right now, the Phillies, I believe, have the top 9-hole hitter in all of baseball. By the way, the guy that they didn't want to play I think he's leading as far as 9-hole hitters. But they don't even have to face him. Can you imagine how bad those numbers would be if they had to face Rojas? Rojas would look like Babe Ruth against them. It's bad right now. It's bad right now.
It's bad, but
that's an odd number.
That's a wild stat.
But I do
man.
believe it's exhaling.
A full 100+ points higher batting average, on base percentage, and almost 200 points higher in slugging percentage.
No, that doesn't even. I mean, that's so absurd.
It doesn't even make sense.
That's what Jason Stark has made his money off of in a lot of his career. No, he's a great writer. Like I don't mean that by a knock, but that's like some of his greatest bread and butter stuff is just the weird intricacies of baseball.
And when you're struggling as much as you are, you're looking for things, and that is an amazing one.
That is one.
Yeah. All right, what do we have on the text line, Connor?
A billion things.
Good.
A spirited Thursday morning.
Yeah, and you've got me tallying every single last one of them.
Yeah, I told you, I'm putting you to work today.
And math is not your strong suit.
No, it is not. I've got the tally system cooking. So John V says, I disagree completely with the idea that the Eagles Super Bowl makes you lighter on other teams. The Eagles won the Super Bowl, and that's great, but I'm not holding on to that. I'm extremely disappointed by the Phillies and Sixers. I feel the Phillies' losses. The second Super Bowl was awesome, but not the same high as the first time.
If you're disappointed, like I like what he said there. If you're disappointed in the Flyers, you don't know what a rebuild.
Well, yeah.
If you're disappointed in the Sixers, you absolutely have every right to be. And I would tell you, I think I probably felt a little less angry about the Sixers debacle, maybe because of the hangover of the Super Bowl. Maybe.
Well,
maybe to Connor's point.
There's also
maybe I do. If I look at it honestly, it didn't annoy me as much.
You also kind of knew what they were doing. So February 9th, the day the Eagles won the Super Bowl, right? They lost to the Milwaukee Bucks.
Right.
That was the third straight loss, and it went 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They had 9-game losing streak, and then they started tanking.
Oh, so, yeah. By then, it was already...
You knew what was happening.
We already knew.
Yeah, but you're taking for granted how bad of a year this could have been if the Eagles did not do what they did.
Oh, no.
This would have been an all-time dog water Philadelphia sports year if the Eagles do not win the Super Bowl.
Well, getting to the Super Bowl, I mean, would have been disappointing to lose it, but
they got
I never
lose again to the Chiefs after the Phillies get knocked
I
out
would've
by the
hated
Mets
it.
in the first round, after the Sixers have everybody die on the court,
Yeah.
after the
You,
Flyers.
you lose Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes at half.
And I lose in the Super Bowl. And I'm one of those people, and maybe this is a bad fan. My team loses in the Super Bowl. You're never going to see me angry.
We would have reacted to things we didn't like.
You're never going to see me angry
I got
about
you.
the season.
I'm just saying the year feels totally different.
No,
if
it
they don't
does
win that game.
completely. If we don't have that, are you kidding me? If Valentine's Day never happened, we don't have that Super Bowl parade, I still feel that. I still feel
It was
that
a nice day spending Valentine's Day with you, too.
It was amazing.
It was a beautiful
It was
day.
my favorite Valentine's Day ever. Ever.
I've had better ones.
Ever.
All right, coming up next. Did this move make all the difference for the Eagles and lead to a ton of the success that we've seen over the past 3 seasons? John Kincade wants to go down memory lane.
Yeah.
That may have changed the direction of the franchise a bit. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, an NFL draft prospect analysis with Andrew DiCecco.
Fanatic.
Draft day's here.
Day one of the 2025 NFL Draft. By the way, really cool opportunity for you. You can join the Fanatic NFL Draft live broadcast and watch party. Today, it starts at 6 o'clock. Join Andrew DeCecco, who will be joining us today, by the way, from 8 to 10. Bill Colarulo and Tyrone Johnson. They'll be broadcasting live from Randall's Restaurant inside the Legacy Club in Cherry Hill.
Some O'Hara guys will be over there tonight.
Oh, that's awesome.
That told me it's a great spot.
Okay, that's really cool.
Like, it's a great spot to hang out. So good.
And you can enjoy $5 Stellas and Fuego drafts. John was asking us about the Fuego today. Tonewood Brewery, good spot.
Okay, Tonewood's fantastic.
I've gone there a couple times.
I know our old boss, Chuck D'Amico, a huge fan of Tonewood.
Big fan, yep. Plus, they'll have specials for great food and, of course, the Legacy Club Old Fashioned. Giveaways will be on site during the broadcast, including Kelly Green Hurts jersey.
Okay, that's great.
Birds logoed golf set.
What?
A grill set.
What?
A tumbler, hats, and more. Click events at 975thefanatic.com for all the information. So this is a really big party during the broadcast and, of course, the draft itself starting at 6 o'clock with Andrew DeCecco, Bill Colarulo, and Tyrone Johnson.
Really and Andrew will share some of that knowledge with us coming up, which is awesome.
8 o'clock. Can't wait for it. All right. Just a quick update for the first time. What the text line, in case you're just tuning in, I asked Connor to keep tally of this. I asked all of you, because we did this on our social media platform for the station yesterday, your dream pick, of course, within reason, that the Eagles could select at pick 32, or if they trade up a little bit, whatever. What are the people saying? What's kind of the majority of the sentiment from the Eagles fans today?
Every single of like the 60 texts we've gotten have been on the Phillies-Eagles conversation and the feeling besides one, and it's someone who wants Tyler Warren.
Okay.
So
Tyler Warren's
Warren's
pick,
not
which
happening.
isn't going to happen.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
That would be freaking wonderful.
Yeah, it would be great.
If it did, it's just not happening.
Again, within reason, people. All right. Johnny, you texted me something this morning, or was it yesterday?
And it's something. No, it was this morning because I thought of it last night driving home from Temple after my last class, and I love my class. God bless them. And I was thinking about 3 years ago. 3 years ago tonight. By the way, 2 months.
Is today the day? By the way,
no. But it's the day one of the NFL draft.
Yeah.
We're in Las Vegas. You were not with us, but we're in Las Vegas at the Planet Hollywood Sportsbook. And in a matter of a couple hours, everything changed for Philadelphia sports. Now, one of the things that changed was Joel Embiid broke his face in garbage time
against the Raptors
of the elimination game against the Raptors.
Yeah, Doc Rivers.
When he shouldn't even have been on the court.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had turned to Bob Cooney and said, Bob, shouldn't Doc have Embiid out of this game? The game's in hand. And Bob usually would say to me, John, you don't understand basketball, but I will explain it to you. Because Bob was my favorite person ever he understood things. And
Guy knows hoops.
And he looked at me and he's like, yeah, it's probably about that time. And I swear to you, within 2 minutes, it was. Yeah. Within 2 minutes, we had Embiid broken face. And
for the second time.
And if they win, Embiid doesn't break his face, they're beating the Heat, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Remember,
they're beating the Heat.
Remember, he evens the series. They're down 2-0. He comes back 2-2, and then he takes the shot by Dwayne Dedmon to the face in Game 5, and he didn't want to go back down low again, which I don't blame him.
And I wouldn't have had the guts to.
Yeah.
So I said, but to me, they win that series. So that happens in the meantime. That happened. Embiid breaks his face before the Jordan Davis pick. So the Jordan Davis trade up comes.
Yeah.
They trade to 16 or whatever. And I immediately am then, they got the video out because I said, here it comes. They're getting Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I thought it was up to go get Kyle Hamilton and everything like that. Then in a matter of seconds, they draft Jordan Davis, and I am like, you've got to be kidding
beside
me.
Yourself. Yeah.
They just passed on that. And then they had 18. They had pick 18. So in the meantime, the 17th pick comes and Kyle Hamilton goes off the board to the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm heartbroken because I was like, could they get him at 18?
Right.
No, the Ravens weren't passing because they're not dumb. And then we get word of the trade. So in a matter of a 20-minute period.
And that trade is for who?
they then trade and get A.J. Brown. So in a matter of 20 minutes, the Eagles trade to 16. Well, Joel Embiid in the same hour breaks his face. Then they trade to 16. They then draft Jordan Davis. They know they have the 18th pick. And then they trade that pick and get A.J. Brown,
who is becoming the greatest wide receiver
in the history of the franchise.
In the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, which is amazing.
And I asked you this morning when I sent it to you. If A.J. Brown isn't traded to the Eagles, have we seen a Super Bowl berth? And have we seen a Super Bowl parade? Because there have been 2 Super Bowls since that eventful night. And I say last night on my ride home, I was being introspective, and I said, nope. I don't believe we've gone to a Super Bowl.
I don't think
and
so.
And I don't
either,
believe
man.
We've won a Super Bowl.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't think so. He is the.
Is he the biggest? Is he the biggest catalyst?
Well, Saquon
no.
last year was
huge last year of winning it too.
Yeah,
but even though the game he didn't win it,
right,
he got them there.
But 2022, that offense, the machine that offense was that year, the Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown connection
was ridiculous.
Was one of the top in the NFL.
I remember the morning after watching that video of A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, the video call between the two of them.
Oh, yeah. It was awesome.
And just smiling.
Yeah.
And there were people there in Vegas that were Titans fans. They were pissed at A.J. Brown and saying, man, he's a diva. Man, he's like, but they were like,
boy, I wish him back.
Oh, no,
yeah.
They were heartbroken that he was gone.
So was Mike Vrabel.
Well, Mike Vrabel was visibly heartbroken that he was gone.
Unbelievable video that they got.
But everything changed, and I don't believe without that happening.
I don't disagree with you.
I don't think the Eagles have even gone to a Super Bowl in the last 3 years.
So it's interesting because this morning I read a really cool article from Ralph Vacchiano on Fox. Oh, and Greg Allman, excuse me.
Okay. Greg Allman from the Allman Brothers?
The art of the draft day trade in recent years.
Okay.
And it shows you part of the reason why the Eagles have been so successful in recent years. Remember, we talked about them being trendsetters the other day. It's Kincade and Salciunas. We'll go through this article with you next here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The NFL takes center stage. I'm Connor Thomas, and it's finally NFL Draft Day. The draft will start at 8 p.m. tonight from Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Eagles, of course, hold the 32nd overall pick. And we've got some great draft coverage coming your way today with Andrew DiCecco, Bill Colarulo, and Tyrone Johnson, all live during tonight's first round. Now, if defensive tackle Walter Nolan is on your wish list, we talked to Adam Schefter yesterday. Poured a little cold water on that idea.
Philadelphia got lucky on Jalen Carter. It's not going to get lucky on Walter Nolan like that, okay? I don't think he's falling to 32. I would expect that he's gone somewhere in the teens would be my guess.
Now, weird things happened in the draft just last year. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean falling to the Eagles. So we'll see, but sounds like Walter Nolan may not be on the board in a spot where the Eagles can get to him. We'll have everything you need to know ahead of the draft right here on The Fanatic. The Mets walked off the Phillies 4-3 in 10 innings yesterday to sweep the series in New York. Jordan Romano took the loss in extras, and the Phillies are off today. They certainly need it. They're going to have their first off day in 16 days and then head to Chicago for 3 against the Cubs. We'll talk to Andrew DiCecco at the start of the 8 o'clock hour till the end of the show. This update's brought to you by Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Vitalico, and Silvana Kelleher. The best show ever.
All right, we'll check our text line coming up here in a little bit on our overall topic. Even though it's in response to the Phillies losing yesterday, getting swept by the Mets, it's draft day. So we're trying to maybe make this a topic where all teams are considered. And that's why I asked the question, because I saw it on social media yesterday. Does the Eagles winning the Super Bowl impact how you feel about the other teams? And there are a lot of people that say, yeah, I'm not as angry about certain things because of the Eagles. And I don't live that way. I can watch every team as individuals because they are individual teams.
I do.
And if I'm angry about a decision that is made, I will point that out even on the day the Eagles are on Broad Street parading.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. It doesn't affect it that way.
No. But
I'm compartmentalized.
But there are some people that feel better just because the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So we'll check our text line. That and the dream scenario draft pick within reason. So I guess I shouldn't call it dream, because if you are dreaming, you could dream up anything you want.
You could say Abdul Carter.
The pick
we
that
have gotten an Abdul Carter.
I'm sure we have.
I didn't count that one.
The pick
Thank
you
you
would like to see the Eagles make tonight, if you had the pick, you don't know how the draft board falls, but obviously it has to be within reason. Text those in at 610-632-0975.
I want to see the dream pick tonight, because I think everybody will have different scenarios.
Absolutely, which is why this draft is so exciting for me.
It is.
So there's a great article on Fox this morning. As I mentioned, Greg Allman and also Ralph Vacchiano. They sort of went through the trades in recent years in the NFL draft. And as Adam Schefter has said to us a lot, this is the closest to the draft where no first-round picks have been traded yet, right? So maybe we'll see something tonight.
We could.
But usually these things happen maybe weeks in advance. Remember the Eagles trading up?
That was like a week out.
13-6 to 2, was it? Or 13-8 to 2, something like that?
13-8 to it.
Right. So there have been, on average, since 2020, 5.5 trades within the first round over the last 5 years.
5.5 trades.
Yep. And it's not just quarterbacks, because a lot of people think, oh, they're trading up for quarterback. Do you guys know which position has been traded up for the most?
Defensive end.
Connor, you have a guess?
I feel like wide receiver is kind of sneaky in there.
Well, that's correct.
Wow.
Wide receiver.
Who were the ones that were traded up for?
Devontae
was.
Jalen Waddle.
Well, that was Miami.
Yeah, with
the Eagles.
With the Eagles. Brandon Ayuk was one that was
San
traded
Francisco.
up for. That's just 4 that they mentioned in the story. There have been 8 trades in the past 5 years for wide receivers.
Okay, that's crazy to me. I never would have guessed that. Good job, Connor.
Which is
Never would have guessed that.
which is double the next position, which they don't say who it was. I would imagine maybe your guess.
I think edge rusher would be the one that people would pay a premium. Because I'm looking at it as I'm thinking, who did somebody pay a premium?
Oh, here you go.
But there's a lot of them. You
There
got
you
to
go.
think about the premium that there's not normally many.
Right.
Okay.
So they broke it down. 28 players.
The scarcity of the...
28 players have been selected following a trade, right, where the team traded up.
Okay.
8 wide receivers, 4 quarterbacks, 4 cornerbacks, which we thought the Eagles may have needed to do last year. They didn't. 3 edge rushers, 3 offensive tackles, 2 defensive tackles, one of them being Jordan Davis. 2 linebackers, 1
the
guard,
Eagles
and 1 tight
traded
end.
up for him.
Yeah.
So Jordan Davis counts as a trade up. I never thought about that. I guess I just never thought about it that way.
So good teams are aggressive first rounders, they write here. 7 NFL teams have traded up more than once in the past 5 drafts. Those 7 teams include 4 top seeds in last year's playoffs.
Wow.
The Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, and Lions.
Okay, that's amazing.
The other 3, the Vikings, who went 14-3 last year, the Jets, who stink, and the 49ers, who obviously had a horrible season last year, but
they did.
Over the last 5 years have been one of the more successful teams in the National Football League.
They have been.
So 7 teams in the last 5 years have traded up more than once in the first round, and all 6 of those 7 teams have had bare minimum playoff success or some of them have gone to the Super Bowl. Chiefs, Eagles, and Niners.
That's fascinating because I sort of would completely overlook that.
But you know why it is? They see somebody they want.
And they go get it.
And they say they're not going to fall to – because let's face it, these teams, other than the Jets, are typically selecting in the later half of the first round.
Thing is, though, somebody has to allow you – the one key to this whole conversation, which I find fascinating, is someone has to allow you to do it. So not only are these good teams being aggressive and getting who they want, someone has to allow these good teams to get the pick from them, and those teams are dopes.
Well, the teams that have traded down the most
yes.
in this 5-year span are the Jaguars and Patriots.
Okay, there you go.
Who are both still picking in the top 5 this year.
There you go.
There are just bad teams. There are just dumb teams.
And honestly, Bill Belichick, great coach. Great coach.
Mm-hmm.
But picking talent, draft night was not Bill Belichick's strong suit. Well, not at all. Him being in charge of a franchise. It was not his strong suit.
But this is amazing. Like the teams,
that is amazing.
Over the last 5 years, the 7 teams that have traded up more than once over the last 5 years, 6 of them are like legitimate playoff contenders.
Well, by the way, and I love that you pointed out yesterday the amount of people that bogarted, the amount of content aggregators who just took the Adam Schefter interview from us and then didn't attribute anything.
Yeah,
was that Philly Tribune? What's it called?
No, it's not even a real source.
Garbage.
The Philly Times.
Yeah, Philly Times. Garbage. Garbage.
ML Football.
Yeah, it's
they
garbage.
They at least attributed it to ESPN. ML Football
but
did.
It wasn't though. But it wasn't ESPN. It was like, so to me, that's garbage.
By the way, Philly Times never responded to
the fact that they
any of the tweets that have called them out.
Yeah, they steal content from people and then use it as their own.
It's amazing.
It is, but I appreciate you doing that. But Adam Schefter's comment yesterday about, because I had said to you, I don't think, just my own thing, I don't think that Howie is getting a phone call back from the Rams.
Right.
And then yesterday, Schefter said that, and I don't know if it was the Rams he was speaking of. But I don't I think there's some right now. Hell no.
Yeah.
Would they want to
Howie's
help?
calling? Yeah, I'm not picking this one
unless Howie wants to really sweeten the pot.
Right.
And maybe he does.
Maybe he does. If there's a guy that he really, really likes, he'll go after it.
Right. But I love the fact that I love the fact that Howie's preying on weaker-willed teams.
Yeah, absolutely. So a really cool article. I appreciate the team at Fox doing that.
Well done. And you credited them for it.
Yes.
So unlike the Philly, what was it, Philly Times?
The Philly Times.
Unlike the the aggregator.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's what you do.
How about I credit ESPN for this?
You always do. We always talk about where we get stuff.
Because we're true journalists, John.
It's just called don't be jerks.
Their updated MLB power rankings, the Phillies still in the top 10.
How?
They have dropped down to 8.
They don't deserve.
They started the season second.
They don't deserve to be in the top 10.
The teams behind them are all right around the same 500 mark. They all are.
Do they have the worst bullpen in baseball?
No. They probably don't.
Saying.
But they don't have the rotation in the lineup.
All right, what do we got on the text line? What are the people saying about any of our topics so far this morning?
So real quick, we're going to do a check-in on the tallies for the players that we want. So I'm also keeping track of them. I'm doing some extra work for you boys. Wow. Trade up and trade back. 2 people want the Eagles to trade up. 1 person wants the Eagles to trade back. So trade up is leading.
The trade up for who?
Well, there's it's crossing over a bunch of different things. I'll just tell you the players that there are. So safety, we have 2 picks, 2 different guys. Xavier Watts and Malachi Starks.
Okay.
And tight end, we have 2 guys, counting the Tyler Warren from earlier, and Mason Taylor now has a tally.
Both of those, well, you're not getting Warren.
Yeah, Mason Taylor could happen.
Warren cannot
That's not going to happen.
That absolutely can't happen.
But 2 safety, 2 tight end.
No, I by the way, I'm not saying that Malachi Starks is the only one I want.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be fine. Either one of them ends up under the Christmas tree. I'm fine.
And by the way,
I'm fine with trading out of the first round, too.
Yeah. I'm just going to guess, by the end of the show, those will probably still be the majority of votes because, drafting D tackle is not,
sexy,
exciting for people. Right, exactly. Whereas it's a great move, and it's what the Eagles believe in, and the Eagles have been telling you that for 25 years now. They're one of the most successful franchises in football. But I understand, if you were to have a wish list, would you rather see the defensive tackle that's going to be a rotational guy, or do you want to see we had one of the players compared to Troy Polamalu yesterday? What would you rather see?
You know what? I thought it had just come up because of our timeline. Yesterday, Troy Polamalu popped up on my timeline
For Head and Shoulders?
USC. He was at USC.
Oh.
He's put on 120 pounds.
Muscle or not?
No.
Really?
No, he's gigantic. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not Troy Polamalu, and it was.
Oh, good for him. I can't wait to be fat once I'm retired.
You said you're going to be.
Absolutely.
I don't see fat Connor.
Oh, you will.
You know
Hang
what?
around long enough.
You're gonna you'll.
I was like, oh my gosh.
You won't. I know you won't. I said that before too. After I ran the half marathon.
Connor was going to run that marathon, but then
Slight delay.
Chicken down. All right, coming up next.
Sorry, the Birds won the Super Bowl. I drank a little bit.
Coming up next, I saw another article.
So you need a bad bird season if you're ever going to run.
I'll be shredded if the Eagles think.
I saw another article of players that could be drafted today or tomorrow and who their NFL comp is. I will read you one that Kevin Nagandi is not against drafting.
Okay.
Now, I am. I would not necessarily be thrilled with this selection, but the comp is intriguing.
All right.
It is Kincade and Salciunas on draft day. Don't forget, Andrew DeCecco joins us for the final 2 hours of today's show. He's going to be in here any minute here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Head to the contest page at 975thefanatic.com and enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets for the truest...
busy couple of days for Andrew DeCecco.
Are we sure he's alive this morning? Because he's been really busy. Yesterday, best show ever.
Oh, dude, he's in his prime right now.
Okay.
Well, I'm not worried at all.
He
about
might be
Andrew
picking up
DeCecco.
like 5 energy drinks right now.
He probably is.
Well, you better hurry. We've already got questions for him on the text line.
Good.
See, I love for
I was
football
going to
guy
ask
Andrew.
the people to start doing that.
Like that.
Real quick, before I get to this Kevin Nagandi clip that I teased, I just saw something interesting from Jay Glazer.
Okay, what else?
He put out the tweet yesterday. I'm just seeing it this morning, and it's something that's probably shouldn't be groundbreaking, but he's been covering the league for a long time.
He has been.
He heard something for the first time. So,
What?
pre-draft process. If you remember the DK Metcalf,
Yes.
the Eagles had him off the board because they were worried about the neck. So they drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside because
Of course.
why wouldn't you?
Who was worried about the sun?
Why wouldn't you worry about? Yeah, that's right. Oh my God, that was the worst.
Oh, jeez.
More aggressive mom, Arcega-Whiteside's or Jaden Daniels' mom. So Jay Glazer puts this tweet out yesterday. Interesting thing came up in my draft prep calls. For years, teams have pulled players off the board for A, injury concerns. That's why I use the Metcalf example.
Okay.
B, character concerns, right?
Sure.
A third category has been added by most teams I talked to yesterday.
What's that?
Whether or not they truly love football. Now, this is an interesting thing because sometimes you see all the talent in the world. I'll use baseball, for example. Anthony Rendon.
Okay.
The guy got to the major leagues. He's a good baseball player. The guy was a stud with the Nationals. He got paid and very openly has since talked about numerous times, yeah, I got paid. I took care of my family. I want baseball to be shorter. I don't want to play as much. I don't love the game anymore. I got paid. Guaranteed contracts, right?
Well, he didn't say it's not that he loves the game anymore. It's
He is straight up said that he doesn't really like the
No,
love
but
the
I
game
thought he
anymore.
said is that he loves what baseball provides him.
Yes,
Like
but
was
not
like
the
the-
game itself.
Yeah.
And so when you're playing the game, you got to love the game. And
I would think
football,
so. Yeah.
a physical sport where your body's getting taxed.
Correct.
At some point, I used to catch in baseball. After a while, those foul tips, I was tired of getting nicked up, right? Like it got exhausting. I can only imagine somebody that's been playing football, high school, college, top programs,
Okay.
where you're playing other physical beasts, maybe you fall out of love with it. Grant Calcaterra almost retired because of the concussions.
Well, the thing is, concussions.
Right.
That's a medical.
Absolutely.
I mean,
situation.
Nick Foles before the Super Bowl
That's
almost
right.
just went off the grid fly
he was
fishing.
tired. Yeah, I mean, he was with his dad when Doug Peterson called.
So I just find that interesting. It's not crazy to think that would be why somebody would take him off the board, but the fact that this is the first time he's ever heard it is interesting.
And what's crazy too is that now the first round picks are slotted. Remember, you guys when you were young, first round picks were not slotted, so they would be holdouts. They could hold teams up for as much money as they wanted.
Right, exactly.
Nowadays they're slotted,
Yeah,
which
in terms of
which
how
should have
much.
happened long ago.
Right.
But you would have guys coming into the league making even more money than they make today.
Right. Amazing.
Crazy.
All right, yesterday, Kevin Nagandi joined us. And, we were asking about his sort of scenarios, who he would like to see
Sure.
the Eagles select. And he brought up a name that you and I have talked about before, that if this happened, I would, A, be stunned, and B, be a little disappointed because I don't think it's anywhere near toward the top of what they need to do. Here's Kevin Nagandi talking about wide receiver Emeka Egbuka.
I can get greedy. I'd say Ibuka. I really like the kid from Ohio State. I like him a lot. I'm a big fan of what he can do in the slot, and you can never have too many pass catchers. To me, when you look at the Eagles, they have 1 and 1A at wide receiver, right? They have really struggled to find that third option. Dallas Goedert, we've heard his name multiple times being discussed, but in reality, Dallas Goedert's body just falls apart. They have not found a secure tight end that can play 16 games, right? And look at the wide receivers they've tried to bring on. Jahan finally played a role in the postseason, which I was so happy for him. But they have been trying to find a number 3 wide receiver for the longest time. So I get greedy. I mean, Luther Burden, Ibuka, those are the guys I'm like, hey, did that help the offense at 32?
Now, he's not saying like that is the pick.
No.
But he's saying, hey, I wouldn't be against it. Now, I don't want to see it. All right, I understand what he's saying about the third wide receiver thing. I totally get it. And oh, by the way, because you lose Dallas Goedert was kind of your third receiver, even though he was a tight end. Like, he was your third option in the passing game. So you could just go get a third receiver and not worry about your tight end as much. But still, you need so many more pieces right now than another wide receiver. And I ripped the Seahawks when they drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba. I thought that was a horrible pick for them because they already had two wide receivers and they had so many other areas of need. It's like the Jalen Hurts selection. You didn't need a backup quarterback.
See, I thought a trade was coming. When they got Jackson Smith and Jigba, I thought a trade was coming.
Of one of the two players.
I thought we then were going to see a deal.
And they never did.
For more draft picks. It never happened. Daniel Jeremiah, by the way, you saw who he has them selecting?
Who?
Jahad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama. I don't believe they're going to do that because of the way that what they just invested in. But I got to tell you, Jahad Campbell.
By the way, Daniel
Jeremiah
does have ties.
Jahad Campbell, if he ends up being the pick, would tell you a lot about what they think about the injury history
with Nakobe Dean.
Absolutely. And but I'm going to tell you, I would sleep well.
Now,
I would say, and everybody who has ever complained about linebacker in the Philadelphia Eagles, you would be sleeping like a baby. Oh no! If people if they haven't watched a lot of Alabama, Jahad Campbell, I'd smile at that. I got to ask Andrew Ducheco about that.
Now here's it's interesting. I have this CBS article where they gave a comp for the top 100 draft picks.
Okay,
this upcoming draft. They have Jahad Campbell's comp
as who?
About former Eagles Super Bowl champion Oren Burks.
I'm going to tell you this is that Jahad Campbell will have a better NFL career than Oren Burks.
Okay.
I understand the skill set argument.
Yeah.
He'll have a better career.
Now,
oh my gosh. I never even now see that's one that I've never even considered. That and Campbell will probably be in that neighborhood.
Yeah. Now,
and you're right, Daniel Jeremiah does have good ears.
He's got ties.
He does have ties.
So Egbuka, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, here's his comp. And this, because I like him a lot.
You do. Yes, he's good.
Well, I like the comp a lot.
No, but he's a good player.
Yeah. Terry McLaurin.
Yes.
And, that intrigues me.
That's a great one.
But I can't go there. You want to draft a receiver in round 3 or something? Sure. I just can't. First round capital.
Talk about the lid. If you think that you're never going to have another season where you use Saquon Barkley that much.
Right. But I already got AJ and Devontae.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it could take the lid off the offense. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, but you know what, Johnny? You were just concerned the other day about another contract for Jerg, for the offensive line.
I am. No,
so you're gonna draft a wide receiver?
Man, it would take the lid off it.
Well, I wonder what Andrew Ducheco has to say about that. He is ready. He's here. Can't wait. It's a big day for him. So he joins us for the final 2 hours of the show. Start sending in your draft questions. People already are at 610-632-0975.
FGA. Make sure you put FGA on it.
By the way, try to keep him day one related because he's
that order.
He's with us tomorrow, too.
Yes.
So try to keep today's text day one related. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Almost time for round 1. I'm Connor Thomas, and it's finally NFL Draft Day. Feels like we've been waiting forever for this one. The draft will start at 8 p.m. tonight from Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Eagles, of course, hold the 32nd overall pick. We got some great draft coverage coming your way today with Andrew Ducheco, Bill Colarulo, and Tyrone Johnson, all live during tonight's first round. Now, if you're thinking defensive tackle Walter Nolan, who's become a hot name surrounding the Birds pick, Adam Schefter, he made that name a little less hot yesterday.
Philadelphia got lucky on Jalen Carter. It's not going to get lucky on Walter Nolan like that, okay? I don't think he's falling to 32. I would expect that he's gone somewhere in the teens would be my guess.
But we'll see. We know the first rounds have ways of getting weird, and the Eagles also have ways of trading up. The Mets walked off the Phillies 4-3 in 10 to sweep the series in New York yesterday. Jordan Romano took the loss in extra innings. They'll have their first off day in 16 days today. Then they're heading to Chicago for 3 against the Cubs. Speaking of Andrew Ducheco, who's going to give you live coverage of tonight's draft, well, he's with us next until the end of the show. This update is brought to you by True Green. Get a golf course quality lawn for less than you think. Sign up at truegreen.com. That's TRUgreen.com. True Green, the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
97.5 The Fanatic and live.
Obviously, day one after the Phillies got swept as well. But day one of the NFL draft, and joining us now for the remainder of today's show. He'll be joining us at this time tomorrow for the remainder of the show. And, of course, catch him tonight at 6 o'clock as we have the special draft show. Our man, Andrew DeCecco. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, guys. How's everybody?
Happy holidays to you.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's a big day. I'm fired up today.
Man.
Yes, it's a wonderful day for those who celebrate.
It's very exciting. Still no idea what this team may do. Either trade up, trade back, stay at 32. There's 75 different players that they could possibly select. And I now have in front of me, Connor, you missed out during the commercial break.
What the hell?
I have a copy for Connor, too.
John and I were both handed the Andrew DeCecco big board.
Okay, well, no one curse for a second. I'm going to walk in and get mine.
Top 50 players according to Andrew DeCecco. And this is how much of a nut he is. Not only does he rank them 1 through 50, he's got the position, the college, height, weight, age, 40 time. This is beautifully done, Mr. DeCecco.
Well, listen, I don't mess around. Anything that I do, it's 110%.
So you should PDF this somehow and post it on the social media so people can see what Andrew DeCecco is saying.
This has to be up.
You
People
know?
will need to see this because you can track it along.
But put it behind a paywall. Make yourself some money.
Because that's what I like about I always judge, like people will say, they'll look at Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, or somebody, and they'll look at their mock drafts, and they'll say, wrong. See, they got it wrong. I look at it and say, how many of their top 35 players
were in the first
went
round.
in the top 32?
Right, and it's a process. And the cool thing about it is we all see things differently. We all have different processes, certain boxes that players check off that maybe others don't. And for me, I never become infatuated with what other people are saying. If I'm higher on a player, then that's the way that it lands. But this was my final evaluation, and this was a couple of days ago that I put it together. And Bill Colarulo got the first copy yesterday, and we'll be kind of going through that during our show tonight, checking off players as they come off the board.
Now, coming in at number 2 on your big board with a 40 time of 4.48. I have this in front of me, so
Right,
I can
exactly.
tell you that. Is Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State.
He's my wide receiver. He's not number 2 on my
No,
board.
not number 2.
I'm sorry. Did I say 2?
Yeah, you said
20,
2.
22.
22.
My bad.
Don't scare the
You're
people
right,
that night.
you're
You
right.
get a pour cold water on this.
Because then nobody would pay attention to his
Number
list.
22. My apologies. Before you came in, we played a clip from Kevin Nagandi, who joined us yesterday. He didn't say that's who he wants, but he would be totally open to it. What is the likelihood? Let's start there before we get your evaluation. Because this is Nagandi talking about it was not the first time it's been mentioned on this show.
And guess what? Who's doing all their homework tonight for the broadcast?
Yeah.
Nagandi's heard that.
Maybe.
Or he's hearing stuff.
Yeah.
So
What's the likelihood that at 32 they draft a wide receiver?
Well, if it's the best player on their board, they're going to do it. And the thing is, and I was talking to Tyrone about this yesterday, the pendulum's eventually going to swing. Right now, the Eagles have a very expensive offense.
Yes.
And a cost-effective defense. But eventually, they're going to have to start paying players. They already aren't going to pick up their fifth-year option on Jahan Dotson. No surprise there. But you might need to start getting younger and having more cost-effective options. And if that player falls to you at 32 and he can really help you this year, which I do believe that he can, kind of reminds me a little bit of Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Lions.
Wow.
In the way that he can kind of run routes and work the short to intermediate levels. He's really tough after the catch. That would be a good pick.
Oh,
wow. Okay.
I love Amon-Ra
But
St.
you
Brown.
do not believe that is likely.
No. To be clear, I don't think that that's likely, but it wouldn't be. It should not be a head scratcher because that would be the logic behind it.
Okay. I understand the logic because you're eventually going to have to pay the defensive
Well,
players.
that's what we did that as a topic earlier this week.
You were talking about maybe A.J. Brown's done after a couple of years.
I said I don't believe A.J. Brown will be an Eagle more than 2 more years.
Right, and I think that that's a fair assessment. And you have to take all those things into account.
A.J. and Saquon, I think, will be gone after 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's not totally shocking.
No. Because they're going to have to pay defense. And
yeah, I mean, look, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean.
And
they already paid Zach Baldwin.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to happen.
All right, it is 8 o'clock. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. I want to give Andrew the article that I read to you guys earlier from Fox about the trading up and the success of it. We'll do that momentarily. But first, let's try to give out some cash.
The Fanatic signing bonus.
All right, your chance to win $1,000 right now by entering the keyword runner. Like Connor Thomas is a former runner.
Hey, I'm still running.
Nah, he quit
training
running.
for the marathon that Never seen to
happened.
happen.
Yeah.
Hasn't
Runner,
happened yet.
RUNNER, Runner. You have 25 minutes after the hour to enter it to the Fanatic mobile app or 975thefanatic.com, or text it to the special contest short code 45911. One random entry wins $1,000 in this company-wide contest. Each winner will get a call from Beasley, so be sure to answer your phone. Contest rules at 975thefanatic.com. The Fanatic signing bonus is sponsored by Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia, voted best casino in PA by Casino Player Magazine. The only reason why I keep on bringing that up is because you told everybody in the world you were doing one.
Yeah, I
And
told
then you
I was
didn't
doing
do one.
I didn't do it when I said, but I'm not doing it.
You had a date. You and your buddy were training for one.
Yeah, one of my other buddies got hurt his Achilles.
With the Rocky montage in the background.
Connor was drinking, and the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
that was for me.
He was in Rocky 3. Him and Apollo running on the beach together, hugging each other in the water.
They're listening to Burning Heart by Survivor.
We'll get there. This is not about me. This is about the guys running the 40 that could get drafted.
Yeah.
Some people stand in the darkness.
So, I read a great article this morning on Fox about trading up over the last 5 years of the NFL draft. There have been, on average, 5.5 trades within the first round over the last 5 years. And the majority of those trades have been for wide receivers. So there have been 28 players taken following a trade up. 8 have been receivers, 4 quarterbacks, 4 corners, 3 edge rushers, 3 offensive tackles, 2 defensive tackles, 2 linebackers, 1 guard, 1 tight end. Over those 5 years, there have only been 7 teams that have done it more than once. Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, Lions, your top 4 teams in the NFL last year. The Vikings, who have been in the playoffs the last couple of years, including a 14-3 record last year. The Niners, who despite last year have been one of your better teams over the last 5 years. And then the Jets, who stink. But of those 6 teams, 6 of the 7 teams have been extremely successful. What do you make of that? Is it because the better teams target players and they go after them, they're aggressive? What do you make of that sample size? 5 years, 7 teams, 6 of which have been extremely successful.
Yeah, I think the aggressiveness that really speaks to what you're saying. And one thing about Howie Roseman and a lot of the general managers that oversee those teams that you mentioned, the 6 teams that are being really aggressive, is that they are not afraid to take risks. And that's something Jeffrey Lurie has talked a lot about. And what he values, one of the things that he values in Howie Roseman is that he will, if he is really bullish on a certain player or his ideologies or beliefs, he's going to lean on that. And I think that you have to respect that. And that's why the Eagles, one of the reasons why they've been so successful.
I love that.
I love it too. And the likelihood tonight, though, is that what if we're and you can listen to the broadcast here on 97.5
Starting at
The
6
Fanatic.
o'clock with Andrew, Bill, and Tyrone.
I want to know something. So because I don't want to be texting you during the first round because I want you to be able to focus. What are some things that Eagles fans need to be watching for? Remember last year, it became completely obvious. All the offensive players going.
14 players.
Just played perfectly into what the Eagles wanted to do. What are some things Eagles fans need to be watching for tonight in the first 10, 12 picks that go, hey, that could end up affecting what happens at 32?
I think you're going to see some offensive tackles go early. Okay. Armand Membo from Missouri is going to go early. Will Campbell. And there's a name, Kelvin Banks from Texas, who a lot of folks maybe have seen mocked in the 20s that I think is going to go a little bit earlier than expected. So inevitably, that's going to push some talent down the board. I also happen to think that Walter Nolan's going to go a little bit earlier than everyone is expecting as well. And that's a name that I've gotten asked about an awful lot. So I do think that there is a scenario where Eagles fans could see Malachi Starks within striking distance. They could see Donovan Ezeraku in striking distance.
Number 30 on your big board.
That's number 30 on my big board. And if edge rushers start to go, that's a player that could conceivably go a little bit earlier than expected.
Interesting. See, I love it. I got the big board in my hand. By the way, Malachi Starks, 26, Walter Nolan, 24.
And that's what I've been saying with Malachi Starks is that's around the number that I think that they would have to get to. Did you hear Adam Schefter with us yesterday?
I did,
Adam Schefter says, there are some teams that are probably not, they're blocking 215. They don't want to hear from Howie Roseman. Do you think that Howie will find it, or a lot of people willing to take that call if he's interested? Because in that neighborhood, there are a lot of players that you've talked about very, very highly.
I still think that GMs, they have to do their due diligence and they have to answer the phone. It's not like Howie has won every single trade. I mean, there's been the Golden Tate trade. There's been the Robert Quinn trade.
Right.
The depending on where you land, the Jahan Dotson trade. So, I mean, I don't think that he fleeces anybody because in the moment, those trades look, I mean, sometimes they look one-sided for the Eagles and sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But I think for any GM who's good at their job, they have to answer the phone. It would be malpractice not to. So I don't know if they're going to be ignoring any 215 area code.
You may not listen too much.
Yeah, I think it's more. I think he's saying that in. I think he's saying that mock.
It's like when John calls me.
Exactly.
Right? I go,
hey, pop. You don't even answer your phone.
Yeah, you're right.
It says unknown number.
You're older than my brother.
Oh yeah, man.
The way with the phone.
Let's see, where am I at today?
Yeah,
let's see, how many 55 text messages.
It's unbelievable.
And 89 voicemail.
I have way more voicemails than that.
You have 89 voicemails?
I have way more, in the hundreds.
89.
Wait a minute, whoa. We need to see your phone at the break.
All right, coming up next, we have today's headlines with Mr. Connor Thomas. And before that, we'll get our first draft text question for Andrew DeCecco. So make sure it's a juicy one, Connor, all right? Text them in, 610-632-0975. And again, we have Andrew in studio tomorrow as well. So try to make your questions day one specific because we're going to use Andrew DeCecco tomorrow as well. It's Kincade and Salciunas on day one of the NFL draft here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, an NFL draft.
one of the NFL draft. So we have today's headlines with Connor Thomas here momentarily, but I want to get in the first question for Andrew DeCecco that we have coming in from the great listeners of Kincade and Salciunas. Thank you all for being a part of it, either watching on YouTube, listening on your app, listening on the radio, you name it. Big day today. We're really excited as the NFL draft starts tonight. But what are the people saying on the text line, Connor?
We have an ask here on Malachi Starks, and the question for football guy Andrew is, how likely are we to get Malachi Starks, and would we have to trade up for him?
I believe right now that they would have to trade up for him. I could see him going within the top 24. I think Andrew, John, looking at the big board there, he's what, 24, 26?
26 on the big board.
Yeah, 26.
No. Yes, 26 on the big board.
Yeah.
24 is Walter
Are
Nolan.
you good with numbers today?
I didn't have it in front of me.
Sorry.
But yeah, so I think they would have to trade up to get him. Now, I know the Eagles really like Malachi Starks, but safety is not traditionally a position that they prioritize, especially in terms of trench play when there's going to be conceivably at least 3 or 4 trench players that they can add to their team. So I don't foresee them doing that.
They made such a mistake, though, passing on one.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. You said it's not something they traditionally do. They've done some things that they have not traditionally done in very recent years.
That's very true.
Right? But paying Zach Ball, number one, this offseason, getting Saquon Barkley and paying him and then extending him, they've done some things they don't traditionally do.
But if they really believe in Sidney Brown, they're not going to take a safety in the first.
Do they really believe in Sidney Brown?
My number one thing, and I've already got it for tomorrow's show. What are we going to learn about what the Eagles think about their current roster by what happens tonight?
You're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
So there's a world that if the Eagles stand pat at 32, which I'm not 100% sold that's going to happen, and they could take a corner, and Maxwell Hairston would be the top one at that area.
Talked about that this morning.
And that would also say a lot about what they say about Keely Ringo / Adoree Jackson. I don't view any corner in this class, at least where the Eagles are going to be picking, to be on that Quinyon Mitchell caliber, just to be clear. But Hairston runs a 4.28, really good ball production. That's a player that I could see. He has Eagles written all over him. It's not out of the realm of possibility for them to go corner. And I think they really should go corner. If not in the first round, they should go on day 2.
I love that you're saying that because I want one before. I said I want one before I go to bed Friday night.
They should get a corner on day 1 or day 2, in my opinion.
Man, I think they have to.
Good ball production. All right. It's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines
Love the football guy
with
stuff.
Connor Thomas.
What do we got? Or who's it brought to us by?
It's brought to us by our friends over at Lundy Law. For over 70 years, Lundy Law has been fighting for injured people. If you need them, remember the name, Lundy Law, your injury lawyers. Visit lundylaw.com.
They're football guys.
lundylaw.com. Yes, they are.
They seem it.
Big time.
We'll have to look up their ball production. I imagine it's pretty good. So we're going to start with a conversation about a guy who has been called not a football guy on these airwaves. Matt LaFleur jumped on the Pardon My Take podcast with Barstool Sports.
Were the eyebrows waxed?
Yeah, no, they're always waxed.
I don't know, guys.
They're always waxed. He was waxing them when he was an assistant coach in the NFL.
I don't know about any of that, but he's not a football guy.
He's not a football guy.
It's not anti-tush push.
He is skinny.
Anti-tush pushes a non-football guy.
He's skinny jeans, the joggers that have the little cups at the bottom. Yeah, he's definitely.
That's very specific.
Not a football guy.
Man, you talking about Bill Colarulo?
Bill Colarulo and him would dress a little like.
What do we got?
Credit to the guys on Pardon My Take because they did grill him on the tush push. Listen to this exchange when they asked him why he's afraid of it.
Why are you afraid of the tush push? Why are you scared of it? It's just a play. You can do it.
You're being kind of a pussy about it.
Well, I don't want to get into how I really feel about it. So, I am good with whatever they want to decide and do. Adapt.
Way to speak to the audience. I don't care whatever they do.
He cares. Come on.
You care? You've been one of the more vocal people that's trying to ban it. I love that Big Cat called him what he called him.
What a sloppy backpedal by him.
Wow. Incredible work by Big Cat.
Sort of called him a cat.
No, he did. We just had to
bleep it. Yes.
My God, I love that.
And that's Matt LaFleur in a nutshell. That was Matt LaFleur 10 years ago. That is who he is.
Yeah, don't give me the whole, I don't really care. You do care. Stop lying just because of who you're talking to.
He cares. Absolutely.
I don't like when people change their opinions or things based off of the people they're around. Be you.
I feel like he had his arms folded during that interview, trying to act like he was, calm, cool, and collected.
Billy
Come on,
Bad
man, you
Ass.
care.
Yeah, I don't care. I totally don't care. Make sure you put in the paper, I don't care.
Yeah, sure. What else we got?
We also have some eyewash. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but in Game 2 of the Celtics series with the Orlando Magic, Kristaps Porzingis caught a bad elbow on a rebound, was leaking immediately from his head.
Ooh.
And he goes and he gets like he got 5 stitches, he said, post-game and everything, gets the Band-Aid on it, comes right back out. Now, here's the part that's eyewash. He's got the blood streaks all over his head when he comes back on the court, in his hair and everything. You don't get some water and wash that off?
I told you before the show. It's a Boston thing.
I thought they had to, though.
They had the shilling sock?
I always thought they had to do that. That's what I was shocked by when I saw the video.
That's eyewash.
Well, some of it was in his hair. Maybe it was just dyed. Maybe it was
he's got
red
no hair.
No, he's got a buzz cut.
Yeah, but still, you can get it out of there.
You can get it out.
Well, he's not going to go take a full-blown shower.
That's the leave it on there. I want
go
him
to the
see.
sink
I want to look like
it's shilling. It's a Boston thing.
It's a look at me. It is.
Absolutely.
And of course, nutcase Joe Mazzulla, who might just be insane, not eyewash, says after the game that I'm happy that it happened. I like to see him bleeding for the team. That's
did you
important.
see the camera shot that called? I don't know if you guys were watching Game 1.
Him yelling at Tatum?
So when the Celtics won Game 1, Tatum took a shot from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and went down hard. And obviously, a lot of time guys act a little bit to maybe try to get it from a personal foul to a flagrant one or whatever. Mazzulla, they pan to him. He's screaming, "Get up!"
Oh no, he did
to his own star player.
Get up!
I love that.
I do too.
Even though he is a nutball.
He's a maniac.
Yeah, he absolutely.
He was when he played for West Virginia too.
See, look at that.
Wow, it's
There
right
you go.
there.
But he running the 40.
I
Seems like he'd be fast.
Where was he on your big board?
97. I don't know.
All right, coming up next, we get back to our draft talk. Again, we'll check more text messages. There are so many things that could happen tonight with the Eagles. So, Andrew, I want you to tell us, with your opinion, what is most likely, what is least likely. Try to go in order. So this includes trading up, trading back, specific player, specific position. I want to know what's most likely to least likely. Also, we'll check more draft questions coming up next on our text line. It is Kincade and Salciunas Draft Day here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Yes, it is officially draft day. I'm Connor Thomas, and finally, we've gotten to the day of the first round of the NFL Draft. It'll start at 8 p.m. tonight from Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Eagles, of course, hold the 32nd overall pick, and we got some great draft coverage coming your way today with Andrew DiCecco, Bill Colarulo, and Tyrone Johnson, all live during tonight's first round. Now, if you're expecting them to announce Walter Nolan at 32, well, Adam Schefter joined us yesterday and said that doesn't seem realistic.
Philadelphia got lucky on Jalen Carter. It's not going to get lucky on Walter Nolan like that, okay? I don't think he's falling to 32. I would expect that he's gone somewhere in the teens would be my guess.
And guessing is what everyone's kind of doing right now, but we'll have everything you need to know ahead of the draft right here on The Fanatic. The Mets walked off the Phillies 4-3 in 10 innings to sweep the series in New York yesterday. Jordan Romano took the loss in extras. The Phils are now going to get a much-needed off day. It's their first day off in 16 straight days. Then they head to Chicago Friday night for 3 against the Cubs. Of course, Andrew DiCecco will remain with us for the rest of the show. This update is brought to you by the PGA Tour's Truist Championship. The Truist Championship is coming to the Philadelphia Cricket Club's Wissahickon course May 7th through the 11th. The tickets are on sale now at truistchampionship.com. That's truistchampionship.com. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia Sports.
swirling. Diana Rossini was on with Andrew Perloff.
Yep.
And
Radnor High Schools.
She is reporting
Andrew Perloff.
that the Steelers could be trying to trade out of pick 21. And, of course, that's one of the big spots that we are eyeing for a potential Shedeur Sanders landing spot.
I don't think. Now, I was so offended earlier by Harry Douglas this morning. Harry and I have a volatile relationship from his time in Atlanta. He said this morning, he's just like, there's a lot of teams that are reportedly turned off big time on Shedeur Sanders. And he said this morning, it's what America doesn't want. It's America's biggest fear is a strong black man leading his family. Deion Sanders. There's nothing about Shedeur Sanders that people are going tonight, yeah, it's about his father. This is about Shedeur Sanders and his skill set. And there have been many quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers who got passed over by a million people.
True.
That is, it doesn't have to do with it's about the player you are on draft night. If Shedeur Sanders was a can't miss pick, it has nothing to do with your race. It has nothing to do with your dad. It has to do with, we want to win.
Right.
And we're going to invest tons of money in you. Harry Douglas this morning was just absolutely nuts.
Yeah, that sounds way off
said
base.
America's biggest fear is a strong black man leading his family, is what Harry Douglas said. I literally was like, you got to be kidding me, Harry. Stop.
I think Shedeur Sanders is actually going to have a better career than some are expecting. That off the field stuff, I don't speak to that. I never interviewed him before. I haven't been in a room with him, so right. I'm not going to speak to that. But if the player is good, you bring him into an NFL system,
and they're going to take him.
They're going to acclimate right away, because when you're with a lot of veteran players, and this is how we do things here.
Yeah,
you kind of learn the culture. So I wouldn't worry about that. I think he can play. I think he goes tonight. It's hard to say, does he go 9 to the Saints, even though they were very put off, apparently, by
his
demeanor. But this is what I mean by smokescreen week, because you don't know what's legitimate. Now, all of a sudden, you're hearing all of these things.
Yeah, and would you feel bad if a radio station wanted to get Andrew Salciunas and let it be out there? They didn't want anybody to know, and they were like, you know what? That Salciunas guy, and they're bad-mouthing him to everybody in the industry?
I don't think he'd be happy. That's normally what happens.
I wouldn't stand for it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd speak up for you.
I appreciate it. All right. What is the most likely thing, in your opinion, that could happen today? Least likely thing that could happen today? Give us, trade talk, position, player, you name it.
I do think that the Eagles sitting there at 32, there could be a team that wants to trade back into the first round to grab a quarterback now, whether that's a Jalen Milroe, whether that's a Jackson Dart. I do foresee a team looking to do that, and that could be maybe the Saints, if they don't take Shedeur at 9.
Right.
I don't necessarily see the Eagles standing pat at 32. I think they're more likely to trade down. But if the board falls a certain way, and I may have mentioned this on our Fanatic little clip that we have coming out, trading up for Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, would be something that I feel like if he gets past the Chargers, past Jim Harbaugh, his former coach, that could be a spot where they view that player as being an option that they didn't foresee, and they go get him.
Would you? What if you're sitting there at 32, and the phone rings, and I absolutely believe this is going to happen tonight. Somebody's going to be calling and going, the Cleveland Browns, the Giants, the Titans. Would you feel? I would feel nothing wrong if the Cleveland Browns wanted to get Jalen Milroe,
right?
And they said, we want the 32nd pick to get the 5th year of control. I'd gladly switch one spot, even if it was just picking up a 4th-round pick or something, to let them do that. Would you let the Giants, with the 2nd pick in the 2nd round, would you let the Giants trade up to 32 with you to get their potential quarterback of the future in Jalen Milroe? I would absolutely not.
I would. I mean, it depends on how you feel about the player. If you're not necessarily worried about how they're going to project over the course of 10 years, 12 years down the line, then you say, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, they may say, go ahead, have them.
Well, we'll see them twice a year, and we'll fare well against them. And to your point, John, you kind of lead it down the path that I wanted to go. The top of the 2nd round,
that's what I do,
is rich with talent. So there's not that big of a discrepancy from 25 to 35. You can find a lot of those players that you were probably targeting at the top end of the 2nd round.
I just would not let me. And again, this is why I should not be a general manager, because I would look at it and say, Well, the last thing I'm going to do, I only have 3 teams in my division that I got to worry about for getting that guaranteed home game in the playoffs every year and everything. That's my first goal every year, win your division. I would not help the Giants at all to go get Jalen Milroe. And I like Milroe a lot, by the way.
Okay, well, that kind of... Yeah.
I like him a lot, so I would not
Well, that speaks to your stance there. But for me, I think he's okay, but I don't view him as a game changer. So if they were to swell, yeah, no problem. We'll pick up Ezra Raku or a Nick Scorton, who we wanted anyway, let's say, at the top of the second.
Now, I will say this. The Eagles did trade up and swap with the Dallas Cowboys to land Devontae Smith.
They did. They traded with the Cowboys at 10.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the Eagles were the ones going to 10.
Okay.
So the Eagles, Dallas, I guarantee you regrets that they did that. In retrospect.
They got
Even though
Parsons.
they did get Parsons. But they regret that they helped the Eagles in the long run. By the way,
improved greatly.
And it went over the Giants.
Yeah.
They didn't have a number 1 wide receiver.
We ended up getting Kadarius Toney.
Oh my gosh,
that was amazing.
That was because
Darius Slayton's still there,
and that was
unbelievable.
And that was where the Giants blinked. They got shown up. Devontae was the pick. They had the Devontae Smith jersey.
Yeah,
ready to go. Was the pick. The Eagles jump him. They grab him, and then they panicked.
Yeah.
And said, "Well, we got to take a wide receiver."
The Eagles pantsed him there.
That's the Eagles with Clinton Dix and then getting Marcus Smith instead because they didn't know what to do.
Oh boy.
Least likely out of all the mock drafts that you've probably read yourself, the players that have been mentioned at 32 or what the Eagles could do at 32. What's like the least likely? And no, not trading AJ Brown to move up to Abdul Carter.
I don't even give
that's
that
nonsense.
any time. Yeah.
Nonsense. Least likely scenario today.
Well, it's becoming more of a possibility now, but on the surface, taking Jahad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama, I think he's going earlier because he's the modern NFL linebacker. What I mean by that is he can track running backs out of the backfield. He can match up with the move tight ends and move all around formation. So he doesn't really leave the field.
Yeah.
You need players like that in today's NFL. I think he's going to go a little bit higher. He's number 10 on my big board. But I forget who it was. It doesn't matter. But he was at 32, the Eagles pick, and I was like, I don't know that he would even fall to 32.
Mel Kiper had him at 32.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that he would fall to 32. Yeah. But if he did, maybe the Eagles would have to take a linebacker there and go against conventional wisdom.
All right. What do we got on the text line? Any more questions coming in for football guy Andrew DeCecco?
Of course, we have plenty of questions for football guy Andrew. And one of these is really interesting with the other teams in the division. So this texter asks, Andrew, what is the best and worst case scenarios for the Eagles division rivals, Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders in the first round?
Well, Dallas, if they take a corner, I would say, and I like Jahdae Barron from Texas. He doesn't necessarily have a position. He's more of a hybrid player, can play safety or nickel. But the worst case for Dallas is if they take Golden, the wide receiver from Texas, Matthew Golden. He's fast. He's really fast. So he would complement CeeDee Lamb. And Jerry Jones is going to become enamored with the speed aspect. He ran a 4.29 at the NFL scouting combine.
Skill position.
And he's skill position.
He's just he loves those.
Now, they probably could use a corner.
They could.
Right. So I think that if you're the Eagles, you're hoping that they do take a corner. There's not a lot of world beaters outside of Travis Hunter at that cornerback position in this draft class. There's a lot that I like, but again, not at that level of a Quinyon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean, whom I really liked during last year's process. I think for the Commanders are a sneaky team at 29 because I think the Eagles need to if they really like Donovan Ezra-Raku, they may have to leapfrog them there.
Wow.
Because their edge rushers are really lean. They have Dorrance Armstrong and Dietrich Wise, two players they're fine rotational guys, but they're not preeminent starters.
And they need a corner too, though, don't they?
They have Lattimore, and they have
Mikey Sainristil.
I love. Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked.
He stinks.
I wouldn't be shocked to see Dan Quinn want a corner. Want the best corner available there.
That would be Maxwell Hairston territory, perhaps.
I wouldn't be shocked.
And then for the Giants, the Giants just they're in a position where they can't botch that, right? They can't mess that up. Take Abdul Carter and call it a day.
They're not drafting a quarterback at 3. I just like the more and more we get closer to the draft, I can't see it.
I'm not liking that idea of seeing Abdul Carter.
I would say worst case for Eagles fans, the Giants take Abdul Carter, but they're not an Abdul Carter away from winning anything anyway.
Right.
So
that's true.
The other way they could go is Shedeur Sanders, which I think he's going to have a solid career. I don't know if he's going to be a world beater, but
3 though.
You're not worried about him if he becomes the Giants quarterback. I'm sleeping well tonight.
I don't think you're worried about it, but I think there'll be you'll see spurts of high end potential from them.
All right, coming up next, Andrew, Johnny asked me a hypothetical question during our post-show headline. I want to run it by you. I answered it quickly, like
very quickly.
I'm curious to see how you answer this question, and we'll turn it into legitimate reporting that is being done right now about how inexpensive trading up may be right now. It is Kincade and Salciunas on draft day. Andrew DeCecco with us for the remainder of the show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. We want to hear from you, so text us at 610- .5 The Fanatic, joined by Andrew DeCecco for the remainder of the show. I know Andrew DeCecco would love to check out the Fanatic Deal of the Week. Get 2 Clementon Park tickets for the price of 1. You can dive into summer thrills with full-day access to Clementon Park's amusement park and Splash World Water Park. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deal.
Can I ask you quickly about the big thing that everybody was clutching their pearls about yesterday?
Sure.
The Shedeur Sanders, like Kyle Brandt was going off about it, that people were saying it was the worst. An anonymous NFL scout saying it was the worst interview he's ever sat in. He doesn't believe the kid is that good. He doesn't like his footwork. He doesn't like how if he doesn't have a perfectly clean pocket, he can't deliver the football well. What the hell's the difference between this and any? This stuff happens every draft
And it's
about
always
every
like,
player.
It's always like 2 days before.
Yeah, and
this player's taken off board because of medical.
Every year,
I believe. Look,
what difference does it make?
It's the magnitude because of who he is. Like that is part of it.
But,
right?
but the thing is, you can't assume that the guy's lying saying it. That's what I'm saying. A
Right,
scout,
I get what you're saying.
a scout is allowed to hate on prospects.
Sure.
They don't have to say he's a very nice boy, though. He's a nice kid. We like him. Here are his good points before we criticize him. Now you go. I think it's a joke that this guy's being talked about going to the top of the
I
draft.
think because he is a polarizing figure. A lot of it himself, a lot of it his father, obviously, the Colorado program,
Sure.
Jackson State, all that stuff. The world that is following. I mean, there was a damn reality TV show about them, right? Like there was. Remember when Lonzo Ball was coming out?
I do. Yeah.
They had literally a reality TV show, and even though he was a top 3 pick and deserving in that draft, deserving of a top 3 pick, there was more to it. Just because of the magnitude of who the person is.
Hating on prospects has gone on forever.
Right.
And criticizing kids in this draft has gone on forever.
Yeah, but
and by the way, they're always anonymous.
Right.
No sources come out and say it before the draft. Hey, the head of scouting for the Green Bay Packers says
they're not
Shedeur
gonna
Sanders.
say that, yeah.
This is not a new thing, but people are trying to make it out to be because it's Shedeur Sanders.
It's not a new thing, but I am noticing that a lot of this conversation seems to center around Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
I don't know. It seems like strategic
It's
to me.
the player that everybody knows the most, too. Like, there are people, I imagine, there are people that never watched a down of college football this year that know that who Shedeur Sanders is.
Right. Yes.
Because of Dion, because of the storyline and everything.
It's also a lean quarterback class,
Very
and
lean.
he's towards the head of the class behind Cam Ward. So
And if you heard what Adam said yesterday, his sources telling him, like they think this is one of the weakest quarterback classes they've seen for first-round quarterbacks.
yeah, next year's better, but not much better. I mean, this is who we're going with, and that's why I think you could see a team try to trade back in to the first round to take a guy that maybe they ordinarily wouldn't have because it's such a shallow class.
So speaking of trade, yesterday Jordan Schultz was reporting that he spoke to a GM, and they've already been talking about maybe potentially trading back. We've heard that the Cleveland's open to it. We've heard New York is open to it, and his sources have told him that the trade is like 70 cents on the dollar right now. So there are teams that just don't feel the need to trade up in this draft. So Johnny asked me a hypothetical question based off of that yesterday. I'm curious to hear what Andrew DeCecco's answer would be. Go ahead, Johnny.
You can phrase it as you heard it, because I want to make sure.
Why?
That
Did you forget?
No, the way you heard it, because I think it does matter. Because I want Connor's answer on this too. And by the way, post show headlines, you can check it out on our YouTube channel and all the other great content from 97.5 The Fanatic.
So you asked me, again, I think I have this all correct. You asked me that if the New Orleans Saints came a-calling.
Correct. I made it specifically New Orleans.
Would you trade up to 9? Obviously, you're swapping first-round picks, but because of these 70 cents on the dollar. So, again, this is all hypothetical based off of the report. You're only giving up next year's 1.
And this year's 32.
Yeah, you're swapping.
So if the Saints said, we'll give you our next year's 1. But you're giving up 32 this year and next year's number 1.
To get to 9? No. I wouldn't do it.
But also 2. For next year's, would you trade this year's 32 and next year's number 1 for the Eagles? So you're giving up tonight's number 1 pick. You're giving up next year's number 1. And you're going to get New Orleans' first-round pick next year.
And 9.
No, not and 9.
Oh, you're not getting 9.
No,
Sorry, you're not getting 9.
Next year's New Orleans number 1.
Got it.
But you got to give up this year's 32 and next year your number 1. So you're doing a swap.
No.
See, I said yes.
He said yes. I said no way.
Because the Saints are going to stink next year.
Sure. Still, they're 2 first-round picks. Like,
But you could be, but honestly, you could be holding a top 5 easily. I would say you got a great chance to have a top 5 pick in next year's
It's
draft.
probably
But
another.
you don't know that.
I know, but I'm a gambling man.
See, he gambled, and
I
I,
don't.
said,
I like
by the
the-
way, I answered exactly as you did and as Andrew did. And I made up the scenario because, again, I don't think I've got the cojones to make that.
Yeah. Now,
but
part
there,
of the- now,
but there
part
are
of the
GMs
reason-
like you that would.
Yeah, I'm not Kevin Costner in draft day here.
Part of the reason.
give me David Putnam and we'll talk.
Part of the reason is because there are not X amount of first-round grades. So we've been talking about trading out of pick 32 for a couple months now.
Yes.
So you're moving on from pick 32, and you're getting next year's 1 from the Saints, which could be a top 10 pick. I would do it.
Yeah, but for
In
me,
a very hypothetical trade.
in a
that's
very
not
hypothetical way, it's not
But here's the thing. This year, you're not going to get a Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan. You're not going to get Travis Hunter, one of my favorite prospects in like the last 8 or 10 years. You're not going to get Abdul Carter either.
You're going to fall in love with somebody next year.
Then next year,
Yeah,
you would
but
have,
those are like elite talents.
But in a quarterback-heavy draft, it's a top 5 draft. I mean, if you get a top 5 pick next year, they're probably going to be 3 quarterbacks that are going to go in the top 5 potentially. And it's like, oh gosh, wait a minute. Then you're sitting there saying Abdul Carter's in your lap, or somebody like him is in your lap, where you could choose from the best offensive player or best defensive player.
I answered it quickly.
You did.
Wow.
He didn't even hesitate.
even a second thought.
And I said, I don't have the guts to do it. I came up with the scenario.
I'm
and I
basically
don't have the guts to
I'm
do it.
gambling that
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
moving
think
up from 32 within the top to the top 10 of just the next year's draft.
I don't think I would have it in me to do it. Maybe it's just me watching draft day recently and just being totally blown away by the ineptitude of Kevin Costner and his role.
Because here's the deal: this year's first round pick could be a starting tight end, right? Could be, or it's a rotational guy. And so instead, I signed some veteran rotational guy, and I hope that I get some big splash in next year's draft. In this very hypothetical situation,
Some
that's not
veteran
gonna happen.
rotational guy. Who would that be?
Andrew DeCecco. You still got some legs in you, right?
I appreciate the faith, but that's not going to move the needle.
Oh, no, I got to look at the
I'm
second
36
wave.
years old and washed up.
See, you don't have to gamble, though. The Eagles are not a gambling team.
Now there is the thing is though, Connor. That's where I was saying in my head too. You don't have, hearing them just talk there. I'm going. They don't have to gamble, but then in my head I'm saying, wait a minute. But the Eagles are a gambling team in a way.
They are kind of, yeah.
They move around as much as anybody.
Check number 9 on my big board there, Andrew.
Let's see. Number 9 on the big board, Andrew DeCecco. That is Cam Ward, quarterback. Yeah. All the way down to number 9.
Yeah, but this isn't a money line bet. You're playing a 12-leg plus 10,000 parlay for no reason.
Exactly.
Which I've hit before.
Yeah, well, we're not all you, Andrew.
All right, coming up next, we continue to hang out with our man, Andrew DeCecco.
That's a true statement, Connor.
And a good thing.
Yesterday, the Eagles made a decision on a contract. Does that mean anything for the week of the draft? We'll talk about it with Andrew DeCecco. And, of course, your text messages next here on Kincade Salciunas 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The NFL is on the clock. I'm Connor Thomas, and it's finally NFL Draft Day. The draft will start at 8 p.m. tonight from Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Eagles, well, they're picking at 32 because they won the Super Bowl, and we've got some great draft coverage coming your way today. Ahead of that pick at 32 with Andrew DeCecco, Bill Colarulo, Tyrone Johnson, all live during tonight's first round. Now, if you're expecting them at 32 to have defensive tackle Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss waiting for you there, well, Adam Schefter said yesterday that's not necessarily realistic.
Philadelphia got lucky on Jalen Carter. It's not going to get lucky on Walter Nolan like that, okay? I don't think he's falling to 32. I would expect that he's gone somewhere in the teens would be my guess.
That's okay. There's a lot of other options. There are trade up, trade back options. The Birds can do a lot, which is why we'll have everything you need to know ahead of the draft right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. The Mets walked off the Phillies 4-3 in 10 innings yesterday to sweep the series in New York. Jordan Romano took the loss in extras. They're going to have their first off day in 16 days today, much needed, and then head to Chicago for 3 against the Cubs. This update is brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Ricky Vitalico.
You lose to the Mets.
What?
I ask you, 4 eggs as a snack?
No.
We were having a conversation. He blew my mind.
I don't eat, in case people don't know, I do not eat until after the show, after I get home, after I work out.
That's fine.
So I'm normally not eating until
all I
like
had
noon.
this morning is my shake. I'm trying to be more like you. Had my protein shake this morning, but like at 4:30.
Yeah, I don't eat until noon.
That's
Monday
insanity.
through Friday.
And you're getting up at 4?
Yeah. And then I get home, I exercise for about an hour, and then I'll typically do 4 egg whites because the cholesterol report came back a little high around the holidays, so I've been focusing on that. So usually 4 egg whites, a piece of Ezekiel bread, some spinach in the eggs, and a protein shake.
Look at you, man. You're going to come out with a PDF for your eating regimen.
That's interesting. I'm fascinated by that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, that's a good meal.
People want to be like me.
Fasting for 8 hours and then the egg whites?
Well, technically since 11 o'clock at night every day.
Wow.
Right?
That's incredible.
That's when the munchies officially go away, is around 11 o'clock at night.
We know why the munchies come on.
Why,
But
John?
I'm just wondering.
I
I don't know, Shaggy. Why?
You're smoking crack!
No.
I don't think it's that.
Except for that one time. No, I'm kidding.
That's Brick from General Hospital.
Don't do that. All right. The Eagles yesterday declined the 5th-year option for wide receiver Jahan Dotson. So just curious, does that have anything to do with today, tomorrow, Saturday?
No, I mean, that was kind of expected.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the same applies to Kenyon Green, the guard who they acquired in the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. But it does speak to the point that we opened the segment with, in that if a wide receiver falls to the Eagles at 32 and it is their best player available, or in the second round, let's say, I mean, you think you have to do it. You always have to have an eye towards the future. This is a contract year for Jahan Dotson. He's not going to be here. You got to start to add younger pieces because, like I said, the pendulum's eventually going to swing, and you're going to have to go cost-effective on offense because you have to pay all your defensive guys. So
if they did acquire, let's say they drafted a wide receiver, does that mean Dotson's out?
No, it means that they have depth, and they don't have a ton of that with Johnny Wilson and Anaya Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, those two players are going to be vying for roster spots.
Johnny Tinder.
So,
why do you kill him for the Tinder?
Maybe it's like putting your own jersey and number up there. This is my uniform at work. Come on now.
But
dude, if you're a firefighter and in a
desperate
firefighter
are you?
All right, hold on, let me ask you something. All right.
How desperate are you? Hi, I'm an Eagle. I'm on Tinder.
What if Connor did like a behind the microphone photo?
I could absolutely believe Connor's probably already done that.
Yeah, but are you ripping it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Why? It's his job.
No, John's right. You should hide what you do with most of your life from the people you're trying to date.
Just be you. You're not your job.
This is a cool job.
You are not your job.
He did work his ass off to get to his job playing in the NFL.
But you're not your job.
Buddy, if I was a pro athlete, I would be my job.
Yeah.
My gosh. If you're a pro athlete, you'd
introduce yourself like Marcelo Zuna.
Connor Thomas from the Phillies.
Hopefully not after DUI.
Not to a police officer.
Yeah. You listen to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN, HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. So, Andrew, I have your big board in front of me. Picks 1 through 50. Who on your big board do you think is like the guy that people are not rating high enough? And the people that are being overrated that you have much lower on your list than most?
It's a great question. I'm higher on Mason Taylor, I think, than a lot of folks are. But in NFL circles, they are higher on Mason Taylor.
Okay.
Listen, when I put him out there on my NFL draft show in early April, and I had him as the Eagles pick at 32, I had people commenting that, he's a third-round pick. No, he's not. He's a late 1, early 2, and that's been the case since the NFL scouting combine. Many sources have told me the same thing. That's a player that I'm a little bit higher on. I have him at 32. Some may have him in the 40s or 50s. I think I'm a little bit higher on. I think I'm higher on Jahdae Barron than maybe some people are. I've seen him in the corner from Texas, who you see him in 20s or sometimes late 20s. I have him at 13.
Yes, you do.
That's a player that can play any position in the secondary. He's tough as nails. He's smart. Played a lot of football. He played outside corner last year, so that should answer some questions because he's 5'11", 195, so you may think that, that screams nickel corner.
It does.
But I think that he proved that he can play on the outside as well. So I'm a little bit higher on him, I feel like, than most are.
Now, one guy, 29, you have on here, Kenneth Grant. He's a player that has popped up a few times on mock drafts. I think that the sexy thing for a lot of people to do is have Walter Nolan go into the Eagles. But I've seen a few with Kenneth Grant. Can you talk a little bit more about the defensive tackle out of Michigan?
Yeah. Look, I think that he's going to be a really good player for the right team. But the Eagles already have a player like that in Jordan Davis. So that would be very redundant. He's 6'4", 330, and that's being generous. He's immovable. He's powerful at the point of attack, but he's a nose tackle. He can play a little 3 technique as well, so he has a little bit of juice. But that sounds like the reincarnation of Jordan Davis. I don't think that would be the player the Eagles need. They need someone like a Walter Nolan who can rush the passer and play the run, and he has a little bit of that short area quickness and things like that he can really complement Jalen Carter.
I don't know why they would do that. That's one that I would be. Now, that's one where people say, is there something that would piss you off? That would piss me off.
Yes.
Because to me, it would just be.
Makes
it would be.
no sense,
He is. I don't even think he's as highly rated as Jordan Davis coming out of college, though.
No, he's not.
So, I mean, to me, I would not want that pick. That's one that I would not want.
So I maybe I'm a little bit lower on him. That's another answer. I'm a little bit lower on him, I feel like, than the consensus is.
Okay. All right. Give us a couple text messages. Again, if you are interested in having your draft questions answered, text them in at 610-632-0975. And once more, try to keep them today specific because Andrew's going to be with us tomorrow from 8 to 10 as well, reacting to what happens in day one of the NFL draft, and of course, previewing his favorite days of the draft, days 2 and 3. What do we got on the text line there, Connor?
So we'll give an update on our count for the dream pick situation.
Oh, okay. So Dylan, yesterday, for our Instagram for the station, had everybody kind of give their dream pick. I want the audience to do this, and I want to see where we kind of end up. The overall tally. So what are we at?
So tight end, we have 1 vote for Tyler Warren, which we know not realistic, but we have 2 now for Mason Taylor. We also have a text from Kevin in Bristol who wants a Mecca Igbuka. I counted Mr. Nagandi's selection there for that one, since he holds a little bit of weight. Malachi Stark's got another vote, and we also have a vote for Nick Emanwari as a safety. One person wants Will Johnson.
And you heard that. Ooh. He said, nah.
And then we also have a Gray Zabel vote at guard.
Gray Zabel? Really? I can't do that. Not in the first round.
That's a football guy. They're wanting offensive linemen.
He's a little bit older. I think he's 23 or 24. He can play any interior position on the offensive line. That's an Eagles pick.
It is.
But, I mean, that would be a little underwhelming. Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama, is a really good player that I could see the Eagles being interested in later in the first round if they hold firm at 32.
Okay. Now, you said, for what, Emanwari?
Nick Emanwari,
yes.
So you look at him, he's 6'3", 220. He runs a 4.38. He jumps out of the building at a 43.5-inch vertical. What's not to like? Well, you have to look at the system that the Eagles run, and he is more of he can cover a little bit, but he's more of a box safety. He's a little bit stiff in the hips, and I worry about his ability to be able to play the post at a high level. He's better in short to intermediate levels and covering tight ends and running backs. But I just don't think for what the Eagles have and what they need that he would be the right fit. Malachi Starks, that's a home run. Xavier Watts from Notre Dame, if you look in the second round, that's a home run. Nick Emanwari, you got to look past the incredible testing numbers and look at how he would fit into the defense. I don't necessarily see him. He's a player that sometimes you don't see the urgency play to play, game to game. And for being that size, you want to see a little bit more consistency.
Okay, take us through Malachi Starks for a moment. The idea of and it's one of the things where I now wonder about the whole conversation I had with the Georgia thing that we'd be getting another one before training camp. Is Malachi Starks, talk about compare and contrast him with C.J. Gardner-Johnson's game. If the Eagles thought putting in Malachi Starks, going and getting Malachi Starks would allow them to just completely replace his game. Do you see them as very similar players?
I do. I think that he's able to manipulate quarterbacks with his eyes. He's a highly intelligent player, really good ball production. If you want to look at his best season, I would say go back to 2023, where I believe he had 3 interceptions and 13 pass breakups, something like that. But this is a player who is an effective back-end communicator, and that's what C.J. Gardner-Johnson did. He was very vocal, and that really helped Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, 2 younger players, really settle into the defense and get acclimated. This is a player who has that communication skills, which is paramount in a Vic Fangio defense. Christian Parker prioritizes that, the Eagles defensive backs coach. Really good instincts as well. And at 6'1", 197, that's really good length for that position. So that would be a home run pick if the Eagles were able to get him somehow.
Now, I'll give you another safety that you have told us on the show, and I want to give you your credit, which we did yesterday when we talked about this. Mel Kiper put out his favorite prospect at every position. So it doesn't have to be first-round pick, right? It could be just, this is my favorite guy at each position. And he gives safety Andrew Makuba out of Texas, who you have talked about on this show.
Yeah.
He compares him to Troy Polamalu.
Wow. Well, I don't necessarily see that.
He says he doesn't have the same ceiling, but the way he plays reminds him of Polamalu, and he thinks he's a third-round pick.
That's high compliment.
Right.
That's very high.
I have him. If the Eagles were to take him at 64, I wouldn't have any issue with that.
He had Jacksonville at 70, so that's right around that same range.
Yeah, so he's a little bit undersized at 5'11", 186, 187, something to that effect.
186, 5'11", 186, bang.
No notes, by the way, still. No,
you guys have my big boards.
Yeah, but he's not even a big
you're not
board
even
guy.
looking at notes. You're going off your big board and you know people's weight.
But here's the thing with him.
You should be at a carnival.
How much do I weigh?
Exactly.
157.
Higher.
172.
Lower.
164.
A little bit higher.
There we go.
166.
Yeah.
That's good riveting radio. I like that, though.
All right, but here's the thing with Andrew Makuba. Being that slight size, he throws his body around, so you have to worry about durability concerns in the future because he does play a lot bigger than what his size might suggest. And good ball skills, 5 interceptions last year. He transferred over from Clemson. He finished his career with Texas. One of the smartest defensive players in this draft, which makes him one of my favorite because I watch how he's able to kind of manipulate quarterbacks and be really deceptive with what he's able to do. So that would be a really good pick for the Eagles. And again, to be an effective safety in Vic's defense, you have to be intelligent. You have to be able to process things fast. He's able to do that, and he has positional versatility.
Love that. What's my 40 time?
You got a sundial?
4.92.
I'm slow. It's probably worse than that.
I gave you more credit for hidden weight. Andrew went a little low on that.
Thanks a lot, guys.
4.92, 40. Your scouting report. He's ambitious.
Cagey.
He's ambitious. He's sneaky
athletic.
Sneaky athletic.
He'll put the time in.
Great IQ for the game.
Yeah,
right.
he's a grinder.
Some off-field. They're going to have to look into some of his activities off the field.
Me and Laramie Tunsil been hanging out.
He's a grinder. He has the will to win.
All right,
he's on Grinder, too.
Coming up next, Andrew DeCecco gave his final mock draft this past weekend on Early Bird. Who does he have the Eagles taking? We'll discuss that next. Also, just some of the other sort of picks, surprise picks, or maybe player teams within the division. Let's get that final mock draft from Andrew DeCecco next here on Kincade Salciunas.
Now, an NFL draft prospect analysis with Andrew DeCecco.
to make sure we're all still awake.
You know, you're the only one that wasn't in the studio.
Yeah, come on, man. Step your game
Come
up
on,
here.
man. It's draft day.
You're telling
Take
me
a little pride.
Salciunas is telling me you ran a 4.5-minute mile. I can't just let that go.
You just
Wait a minute. That's
again. Okay,
that is crazy.
That's blistering.
A 4.5-minute mile.
Hold on. You missed the context. When I was in Clearwater before the strep throat hit, day one, the winds were blowing 20 miles per hour. So I had the wind in my back. So it was 4.5 minutes. Running back, however, was like 10 minutes because I was running into a damn tornado.
Yeah, but that's 4 minutes.
I think running a mile under 5.
I basically sprinted and felt I didn't feel running because of how hard the wind was blowing.
I'm looking at you right now like the dad from Step Brothers. Like, God, you're impressive.
Yeah.
Like that dinner scene.
But again, the wind was a big factor. I'm not an Olympic athlete, all right? Maybe one day. I could do curling. Yes? No?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
All right, you had your final mock draft on Saturday.
Yeah.
Just kind of go through it with us. You don't have to go 1 through 32, but maybe some picks that would intrigue us, and then, of course, leading up to 32.
Walter Nolan at 32 obviously would be one that I think a lot of folks would be excited about, but the closer that we get, and really the last few days, it's becoming more and more unlikely that he falls that far. I think he could go anywhere from top 20, top 17 picks. That would be really interesting for a lot of folks. I know that Malachi Starks is one that I get asked about a ton, that there's a realistic possibility, depending on how the board falls. Some teams may prefer Nick Emenwari, and you may see a Malachi Starks there available. And I think that Mason Taylor at 32 would be probably the best option because he can be a day one starter. And regardless, if Dallas Goedert's gone, he's a day one starter. If not, you learn underneath him for a year, and you're able to step in and hit the ground running the following year.
Here's the only problem, is that if you trade, and I think Connor was talking about this yesterday, you can't draft a tight end before you trade Goddard, can you?
Sure you can, because they need one anyway.
No, but it's that hurts your value on trading Goddard, doesn't it?
I mean, they still have to move off of that anyway, and you already have to plan for the future.
So if you see a Goddard trade go down tonight, then we might see the writing on the wall that a Mason Taylor pick is coming. And by the way, I would love that pick.
And here's the thing. The Eagles like Mason Taylor, but if they want him, you're going to have to take him at 32 because he's not getting the 64. He's a top 45 player. I have him at 32 on my big board personally, and that's a player that when you can plug him into your offense right now, John. He can run every route. He's going to be an effective blocker and has ability to develop into an even better blocker, and he wasn't even used to his fullest extent at LSU. I think you bring him in there with tight ends coach Jason Michael and the players that they have there, and he's going to be a good pro. I think he's going to be the best tight end from this class in the long haul.
All right. Other than Shedeur Sanders, who do you believe will be like the biggest pick that leads to just conversation? And not Eagles. It's in the first round where people are going, oh, my God, that pick was either crazy good, crazy bad. What do you think is the day one biggest talking point other than Shedeur Sanders?
Maybe Jackson Dart going at the back end of the first round.
I've seen some there where they're putting him at 20.
Yeah, that's too rich for me.
Crazy.
And that just speaks to the shallowness, the nature of this class.
Yeah.
I also think that you're going to see a lot of players that maybe are in the top 50, some of which like the top 55, that are all of a sudden they're in the first round conversation because this draft class is very unpredictable. So it could be something that you're seeing like a top 45 guy, maybe an edge rusher. Like I really like Landon Jackson from Arkansas. No one's talking about him. I have a second round grade on him, a high second round grade, but he might sneak into the first round.
Okay.
So I think that you're going to see more questions surrounding. Didn't see that coming, or maybe it's an offensive lineman that like a Jared Wilson, who's the center from Georgia. I think there's a chance that he could sneak in to the first round conversation. That would be some talking points.
Now it's that time of the year where this pops up all the time. The 2013 top 10
Here we go.
picks. Just a reminder, the Eagles, thank God they drafted Lane Johnson. The rest of the picks, Eric Fisher, number 1 overall to the Chiefs. Luke Jokel, number 2 to the Jags.
I forgot about that guy.
Deion Jordan, defensive end, goes to the Dolphins. Then Lane Johnson to the Eagles. Ezekiel Ansah to the Lions. Barkevius Mingo Goes to the Browns.
He was a very narrow-framed defensive lineman.
Jonathan Cooper, guard to the Cardinals. Tavon Austin went 8 to the Rams, still of St. Louis.
Super overdrafted.
D. Milner, 9, defensive back to the Jets, and then 10 to the Titans. Former Eagle, Chance Warmack.
So, D. Milner is one of the players that I got wrong. Like, when I think back on some of the misses that I've had in my career, D. Milner is up there. The biggest miss for me, and I had this topic on one of my weekend shows, Aaron Curry, the linebacker.
Early birds, Saturday mornings, 9 to noon here on the Fanatic?
It won't be this Saturday, though.
Won't be this Saturday.
What are you doing this Saturday? Are you with me?
I'm with Connor. I'm with Kevin Cooney. I'm with
So you're there
Ray,
all day.
I think everybody. Yeah. Aaron Curry, the linebacker from Wake Forest, was my biggest miss.
Okay.
I thought he was going to be like Ray Lewis, the second coming of Ray Lewis.
Wow, really?
I think he went 4th overall to the Seahawks, and he just could not play. He lasted like 3 years.
All right, who was your biggest hit then?
Alex Highsmith, and I'm going to tell you why. When he was coming out of the draft, he's the edge rusher from the Steelers. He came out of Charlotte. I saw him at the Shrine Bowl. I told a lot of people, anybody who would listen, this guy's going to be a late 3rd-round pick. I said, he went to Charlotte. He'll be a late day 3 guy. Some team will take a flyer. He went late day 3, right around Davion Taylor territory.
And he's a stud.
I also got
Davion Taylor.
Ty Johnson, the running back I got from Maryland.
You got Ty Johnson?
the running back from Maryland.
Oh, not the best show ever is Ty Johnson.
That's the host from Rutgers. Come on, man.
Ty Johnson, the running back from Maryland, went in the 6th round. I was talking about him. He ran a 4.2 at his pro day. I was there. He's still in the league.
Yeah. Buffalo last year?
Buffalo. He had some big games.
He had a couple of big games.
Yeah, I consider that a win for me.
Don't forget Super Bowl champion Jalix Hunt out of Houston Christian.
That's right. That's one of my favorites.
That might be my favorite though.
I got that one.
That was my biggest memory of last year. Is you talking about a guy and I sort of rolled my eyes going, okay, come on now.
Well, you learned.
I did. I
Damn
learned.
right, man.
That's because I'm open to learning.
All right, coming up next. This was pretty cool. NBC Sports Philadelphia had Eagles fans do a 7-round mock draft. Like whoever subscribes to NBC Sports Philadelphia and follows them along. And they made it the players that were selected the most.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to run through this with you guys, and I want to see how accurate it could be with Andrew DeCecco. All 7 rounds. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
It's finally draft day. I'm Connor Thomas, and we finally made it to the NFL draft. The draft will start at 8 p.m. tonight from Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Eagles, well, they hold the 32nd overall pick, and we've got some great draft coverage coming your way today. Andrew DeCecco, Bill Colarulo, and Tyrone Johnson all live during tonight's first round. Now, defensive tackle Walter Nolan is on your wish list for the Birds. Adam Schefter talked about him yesterday and said why he doesn't think the Eagles will be that lucky this time.
Philadelphia got lucky on Jalen Carter. It's not going to get lucky on Walter Nolan like that, okay? I don't think he's falling to 32. I would expect that he's gone somewhere in the teens would be my guess.
We'll have everything you need to know ahead of the draft right here on The Fanatic because, of course, nobody knows what they're going to do. The Mets walked off the Phillies 4-3 and 10 to sweep the series in New York yesterday. Felt like everybody knew what was going to happen in that one. When Jordan Romano took them out in extras, he took the loss in the extra frame. They'll have their first off day in 16 days today, then head to Chicago for 3 games against the Cubs. This update's brought to you by Erie Insurance, celebrating 100 years of protecting your family's most priceless moments. Then, now, always. Erie Insurance. ErieInsurance.com. That's ErieInsurance.com. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bill Colarulo.
97.5 The Fanatic. We're joined by Andrew DeCecco for the rest of the show today, but he is not done at 10 o'clock. You have a very busy day today, and I'm so excited for this. It's really cool. You, Bill Colarulo, and Tyrone Johnson will be broadcasting live from Randall's Restaurant inside the Legacy Club in Cherry Hill starting at 6 o'clock. So you're going to be doing the show during the draft, and, of course, the people that are attending will be a part of the watch party. Great drink specials, by the way. $5 Stellas and Fuego drafts. Tonewood, great spot. Plus, great food. They have the Legacy Club Old Fashioned, which I'm very intrigued by. Also, there will be giveaways on site, and these are great giveaways. How about a Kelly Green Hertz jersey, a Birds logoed golf set, a grill set, tumblers, hats, and more? Just go to the events page, 975thefanatic.com for all the information. Dude, this sounds awesome.
I am so fired up for this event, and I was really since we got all of our plans lined up.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome because we're going to provide draft coverage that no one else can, and we got 6 hours of it. We're not only going to be going through all of the picks and providing analysis, but also how it affects the Eagles. Who are the best players available? We're going to be resetting the show and talking about all the different needs that the Eagles have and what the division might do and how that could impact the Eagles. So it's going to be great. We're going to make it Eagles-centric.
Damn right. It's going to be awesome. All right, so NBC Sports Philadelphia, I think this is really cool. They allowed their subscribers to do a mock draft, right? And, picks 1 through 32 or whoever was off the board, and it was time for the Eagles. And they did all 7 rounds, all right? So I'm curious to see how many of these you like and if they're actual possibilities, okay? And they broke it down by percentages, so it's not like everybody picked the same player. So, for example, the first-round pick at 32, this player was selected 48.8% of the time among the Eagles fans that did this. I don't know how many fans did it. I don't know if it was 10. I don't know if it was 20. I don't know if it was hundreds. They've selected the majority of the times James Pierce, edge rusher out of Tennessee. Likelihood and your thoughts.
I don't really care for the player. He does. It's going to take the proper team that's going to be able to get over his off-the-field concerns.
Okay.
He is a little bit of an undersized pass rusher. I think he ran like a 4.47 at the combine.
Okay.
So he's immensely athletic. But I don't know. I like Donovan Ezeraku better. I like Nick Scorton, the edge rusher from Texas
Now, again,
A&M
I
better.
don't know who's off the board. I don't know. All I have is who was selected.
Right. So I'm just not a big James Pierce guy. That's actually one of the players who wouldn't be on the my guys list per se this draft cycle.
I wouldn't want him either.
And just so
He's
you know,
a guy I don't want either. But I like your idea there, though, of that I'm watching some of these other candidates, and they just seem more, I don't know, explosive?
It's more well-rounded, I think. Like
maybe.
Nick Scorton is a good pass rusher, and he's a good run defender. Donovan
Scorton looks
Ezeraku
like
the
a
same
beast,
way.
by the way.
Yeah, he's good. And so if the Eagles like him, they're going to have to take him at 32. He probably won't be there at 64. I have him as a top 42 player. I believe.
I heard you the other day, and I told Andrew, I'm there in the afternoon watching video of him, and he goes, "Oh, you're doing your film study."
Oh,
and I said, "No." I said, "Film study is what DeCecco does." For me, it was typing in his name into Google and YouTube to see video of it.
He plays with violence, and he is able to set the edge, and that's what you want. He has that attitude that I think would really complement what the Eagles already have in terms of their personnel on defense.
By the way, the other percentages, so again, 48.8% picked James Pierce. Shamar Stewart got 36%.
Shamar Stewart I like. He's very raw, very athletic. That's a player that I think could go even earlier because he does have those tools. That might be one that is a talking point when you talk about the draft. I'm surprised that he went here, but I think that could be a player that does.
Josh Connerly, offensive tackle out of Oregon, was 11%, and then Matthew Golden, the receiver out of Texas, got 4%. Round 2, the consensus, 42%. You get your tight end off the board, Elijah Arroyo, not Carlos Arroyo. Elijah Arroyo, tight end out of Miami.
At 64?
At 64, yeah. This is just how the mock draft fell.
Yeah, he's probably a top 55 guy, and he's an interesting prospect because for his first 3 years at Miami, he had just 11 receptions. He finished with 46. So he's largely a projection because he was sort of working through a knee injury in the 22 and 23 seasons. Out of all the tight ends in this class, at least some of the bigger names that we've talked about, he's probably the best blocker, and he's sort of rising up draft boards a little bit as we move through the process. That's a top 55 guy. But again, with only 46 career catches, I don't know. That's a little bit of a projection for me when you have someone like a Mason Taylor or even a Terrence Ferguson from Oregon, who I really like as well, that would be a good fit at 64.
All right, round 3. They had Anthony Belton, offensive tackle out of North Carolina State.
I can
49.5%.
They're going to go tackle at some point.
Yeah.
I personally like Jalen Travis later in the draft from Iowa State. Nick Sirianni and Matt Campbell, the head coach from Iowa State, they have a good relationship. They've brought in Jalen Travis for a 30 visit. I like that maybe a little bit later. Third round for me is where you need to get a corner, a safety, a tight end, depending on where it goes.
Your safety, according to the subscribers to NBC Sports Philadelphia, is the 4th round. And it's funny because if you look at the percentage breakdowns, this is the highest one out of any of them. And you could probably guess why. 67% of the people went with Jalen Reed, Penn State.
Penn State,
yeah. But safety out of Penn State, your thoughts, 4th round?
I had Kevin Winston at 64, the other Penn State safety. Jalen Reed's okay, but not somebody that I think Sidney Brown's better than him.
Okay.
Winston's off the board long before Reed, though, right?
Or Winston's probably right around 64 to 75.
This is pick 134.
Yeah, because Winston, they're not even in the same ballpark,
but
right?
I think if they were to get a Penn State safety, is what I'm saying, they should just get Kevin Winston at 64, who they brought in for a visit. And I think that he can actually challenge and would beat out Sidney Brown for a spot. I don't know that Jalen Reed is going to really give Sidney Brown the proper competition that we're all looking for.
All right, so how are you feeling about the fans so far?
I like where they're at in the earlier parts of this draft, but 3rd and 4th round leaves a little bit to be desired, to be honest. But hey, look, that's their opinion.
Now, none of these are trades, so they're just boom, 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 boom. So the 5th round picks, all right? We'll go pick 161.
Is there Justin Wally on there?
No. Pick 161 would make our own Brendan Gunn very happy. Jack Kaiser, linebacker out of Notre Dame. 164, Tyler Barron out of Miami, edge rusher. 165, cornerback Quincy Riley out of Louisville. And pick 168, Deion Walker, defensive tackle out of Kentucky. Your thoughts on those?
So that's an interesting one. I've checked in on Jack Kaiser throughout the pre-draft process. He's a little bit of an older player, really fast and good coverage ability. I wouldn't mind that one. But again, you're not talking about a starting player. The Eagles may need a player who can start.
Right,
he's more of a special teams caliber. Quincy Riley, that's a name that would make a lot of sense. I do like him. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's a little late to go corner. I do. I think they need to address that a little bit earlier in this draft. As I said, day 1 or day 2.
Corner, edge or defensive tackle, and a tight end have to be by Friday night when I go to bed. Now the thing is,
sleep soundly.
And then but the thing is, then I've gotten people going to me, no, you can't draft like that. You can't draft for need. No, you have. They drafted for need. They drafted for need with Quinyon Mitchell. They drafted for need with Cooper DeJean. They drafted for. The Eagles draft for need all the time.
Depending on where the board lies, you can get all of those players
in those kind of
right. Like at 32, I'm not going to tip my hand because I'm going to give my official pick later. I mean, there's a world, John, where a corner could be the best player available. It all depends on what your board's like, not what my board's like. What Howie Roseman and the Eagles brass, what their board looks like.
And I wonder how much disinformation they've done because they've drafted people before that they haven't brought in for visits too. So.
Exactly.
They don't always telegraph what they're doing.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. Just because a player has not made a 30 visit does not mean that they're not interested. Sometimes you have all the information you need about that player. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you had the interviews at the Combine or the Senior Bowl, and they checked off the box. That's a clean prospect. I don't really need to know anything more. Sometimes you can read into a 30 visit because, let's say, Jalen Carter visited the Eagles. So did Keely Ringo. So did Anaya Smith. So did Johnny Wilson. So did Jordan Davis. So you can read the tea leaves at some point, but you also have to look how it matches with the athleticism and how they view prospects.
And I know how for Thomas Dimitroff, who just guested with us last week, I know there were times where they purposely did not bring someone in for an interview because they didn't want to tip off their interest in the player. They wanted to lead people away from who they really wanted, and they felt very confident we're taking that guy. They meet with him at the combine.
Yeah.
They see him at the combine. They meet this kid. They watch him work out, and they're like, okay, the tape tells us we love this guy. They don't want everybody to know who they like.
Right. You can have formal or informal interviews at the combine. That's kind of like speed dating because you have to every prospect's going from team to team. But then there's the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, and everything else. So yeah, you can do all your due diligence before that.
I saw where I don't know if it was. I think it was Malachi Starks. It was either Malachi Starks or one of the Georgia guys. He shipped back 47 pounds of clothing from the combine.
Wow.
Like 40, like all the teams.
A lot of teams.
Here's your sweatshirt. Here's your hoodie. Here's your 47 pounds.
Jeez.
And then that's like, who do you know is a Chargers fan?
Yeah, he
Who
can
do you
have
know
it.
is-
Right, yeah, exactly. Or who gets drafted by those teams, you just
47
ship them over.
pounds.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
my
right,
gosh.
Coming up next, we'll get Andrew DeCecco's official pick at 32, well before the start of the NFL draft. We'll check a couple more text messages. Also, where were you 5 years ago today? There's a reason why I asked that question.
I think I was here.
It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
The home runs are ridiculous. Like I
3 coming up at 9:48. And then after the key 3,
That's very exact.
Andrew DeCecco will give his official selection at pick 32 for your Philadelphia Eagles. We'll sneak in a couple text messages, but before that, I teased going to the break. Where were you 5 years ago today? Maybe advance the clock a few hours. Because the Eagles selected Jalen Hurts with the 53rd or 54th? 53 or 54?
It was 53.
53rd pick in the
second round
2020 NFL draft. I was on my couch in my little row home in Manayunk. I remember walking because the weather was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. I was taking my dog for a walk, listening to the draft for the first couple picks, and I wanted to be back on my couch for pick 53. And that's when the Eagles selected Jalen Hurts, and I said, what the hell is this team doing? And it's worked out for them.
I was working with Tony Pauline for a company. I was a senior draft analyst, and we were doing a live blog. So we reported on every single prospect that was drafted. We wrote a few little notes on each prospect all the way through the 7th round. And I remember when we were doing that, we got the pick a little bit early, and Jalen Hurts, interesting. And then we wrote about what we thought about him through the pre-draft process.
And how'd you feel?
I thought it was interesting. I don't think I had any strong opinions one way or the other. I thought that he was a good developmental player that would be a high-end backup, like I'm sure a lot of us thought, because at the time they had Carson Wentz.
Yeah, and I was amazed that they did that, considering just the lack of a lot of things they needed to address.
I just said, love the player, don't understand the pick. So that was what, even though I should have understood it because Carson Wentz couldn't stay healthy.
But I'll also say this, guys. I wrote an article. I think I told you guys this. I wrote an article about 4 players that I thought were going to be first-round picks or should be first-round picks.
Yeah.
I know Cesar Ruiz was on there. He went in the first round. Michael Pittman Jr., he went 34 to the Colts. Mm-hmm. But Jalen Hurts was 4th on that list.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's very good. Look at that.
I thought the Patriots or the Saints would be a really good fit for him, but I viewed him as a first-round pick.
I love Cesar Ruiz at Camden, New Jersey.
Yes.
That. But where were you? Because, again, there's a reason why I asked that question. It was
Where
also,
was I?
This is the thick of COVID.
Yeah,
I was
home. Yeah.
This was the Roger Goodell basement draft.
You see, the thing is
your rules were different in the ATL.
I was at Taco Mac, Sandy Springs, doing a event.
Yeah, so you know that you were out and about.
I didn't live COVID the same way.
Yeah.
We were all going to die, and everybody in Atlanta, because we were out and about. And we were out and about.
I was walking, but I kept my distance. I would cross the street anytime somebody else was walking.
Now, it was 75%, if I remember it was correctly, it was 75% occupancy. So they had to take space out. And
probably kept your distance and everything.
We led our lives.
I was in my basement next to my brother, who is a Vikings fan. So the Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson pick
Oh, my God, yeah.
was miserable. I put a hole in the wall of the apartment I was living in when they picked Jalen Hurts.
Oh, gosh.
Now,
did you really?
I did. Now, it's not as bad as it sounds. Dude, we moved out of that apartment like a month later because the basement would flood like 6 inches worth of water. The walls were basically tissue paper. And I kicked a cardboard box that ended up somehow like putting a hole in the wall.
The cardboard box hit the wall and put a hole in it?
Exactly. This place was falling apart.
Did you get charged for that?
No, I fixed it like the next day.
Oh.
But that was my reaction to the Jalen Hurts pick. I was livid.
Wow.
Because it's like, what are they doing?
It didn't seem to make sense. Regardless of the player, it didn't seem to make sense. But look, this is clearly worked out for the Eagles to the tune of 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 being a championship, and that player being the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, I'm sorry to Jalen.
It did work beautifully.
That was a big night.
The Goodell draft was weird. The basement.
What's with the M&Ms or the Skittles or whatever?
Yeah, he had the big ball.
And he sat there and he was wearing like a Mr. Rogers sweater.
Yeah, he was in
I do remember that.
And that chair.
He was in the throne.
A
yeah,
weird
the chair. Yeah.
Like it was really like I remember all that nonsense.
It was
yeah,
nuts,
and that was the every parent
awkward.
is dead or on drugs draft too, where they ran the promos for like every other pick. No, that was 2020.
Also NFL, because I remember the NBA one was like I remember talking about in the air, like, all right, this is a bit much. Like,
yeah, dude, NFL
Like,
did
I got
it too.
angry. I'm like, this is the best night of their lives.
Yeah.
One of them, and you're now putting this out there. Like, this is supposed to
and
be
some of them were like reaches, like
a positive moment.
their second cousin, and it's like
Smoked a joint once in high school, and he
overcame.
overcame it.
It was really weird.
All right, what other text messages do we have coming in for Andrew ahead of night one of the NFL draft?
We have a very intriguing question here. So this is obviously for football guy Andrew because he's the only one qualified to answer it. What do you look for in an offensive tackle that tells you they can also play guard and they're not exclusively a tackle? So, like, which of the first-round offensive tackles could be a right guard of the present, right tackle of the future?
Sometimes the length, it's not easy to transition inside. Mekhi Becton was a rare case. A lot of times when you see tackles with shorter arms, that were collegiate tackles with shorter arms, they transition best to being a guard because you're pretty much playing in a phone booth and arm length isn't as prevalent. But I also think you have to look at power and are you able to drive defenders off the ball and things like that. Oh yeah, certain linemen that have athletic qualities, I also think favors positional versatility.
So he brings up Simmons, Connor Lee. And
Connor Lee, I think, can do it. He's only like 6'4", 315 pounds. I think he's got a right tackle in the future, but I think right now he can play guard.
Real quick, a text from Green Bay from a well-placed person saying, if you're interested, the ears that I have on the ground say trading back. So take it for what it's worth.
Yep, night.
Trading back. So might work. Might work.
I mean, I could see them trading back. I hope for my sake and for those who stay up.
Early into the second, I hope.
that they make a pick because I'd like to react to it. Tyrone Johnson and I will be on the air from 10 to midnight. So
Now, I have one more. See, this is non-Eagle related before we get to our key three. How early do you see Ashton Genty going? Because I just saw a report from
could it be Raiders?
Trevor
as early as 3.
Raiders could grab him.
Trevor Sycamore?
4, you mean?
4.
Does stuff for Pro Football Focus.
Yeah, Trevor's great, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bears may be looking to trade up to 5 for Genty.
So I could see him even going 4 to the Patriots.
That's what he says.
Because Ramondre Stevenson, I don't know how you feel about him, but
I don't
for
like
me,
him.
Well, who's at 5?
5 of the Jaguars.
Jaguars. I don't think
they're going to go Genty or
Jaguars
Mason
will let him
Graham.
go.
They'll go Genty or Mason Graham, the defensive tackle.
I don't think the Jaguars would trade that pick away if Genty was on the board.
So a trade up to 4 maybe to get him.
Yeah, I don't think the Patriots are going to.
I think the Patriots would take Genty or they would take Will Campbell, the offensive lineman from LSU. But I think that there's a world that they could take Genty. He's the number 3. I have him as the 3rd best player in this draft.
I want Genty in the AFC. I want him in the AFC.
He's going to be a problem, man. He's
him in the
a
AFC.
toolsy player.
Let someone else have
It
him.
is time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. I told you, 9:48 here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Johnny, welcome to another new era, another new chapter in the world of football, in the NFL, the National Football League. As tonight we will see 32 new players in a league that we love, obsess over, talk about on a daily basis. And it's all 18-year-olds or however old these guys, 20-year-olds that are getting into it.
This year's draft, I think, is the oldest.
Is that right? Wow, how about that?
It should be a great night tonight. I'm so excited.
Do you allow the success of other teams to sort of lower your fire for the other teams that are not playing well? The Eagles and what they do, John, does nothing for my feeling toward the Phillies, the Flyers, or the Sixers.
How about, though, are you also putting this as, does it lower your vitriol?
No, you heard me yesterday. You guys called me crazy for being pissed off to a loss.
I thought it was a little much.
What about
now? But the thing is, no, I admire the energy. I love the energy of it.
You think the energy was after yesterday? They got swept.
Oh, no. I was in Maxie's yesterday with other young people that were really enjoying themselves. Those young people.
Sure, man.
They were enjoying their Wednesday afternoon on campus.
Oh, and it was a beautiful day.
It was gorgeous. And a lot of the kids taking their grad photos. And I can tell you, watching the 8th inning, 9th inning, and the extra, the young people are not in that mode. They were quite throaty yesterday about the Phillies.
Yeah, because they
were feeling it.
A horrible brand of baseball right now. So I'm glad to hear that there are people, the younger people, Johnny.
They were younger and they were throaty.
Because you know what? They're realizing that they want more. But there are other people like Evan Ross and many others, and I'd love to hear from you at 610-632-0975, that have allowed the success of the Eagles to sort of lower their fire. I'm not saying you don't care or you're not watching. Evan is clearly watching. But for him to respond with, oh, well, to a sweep by the Mets,
no,
because the Eagles won the Super Bowl, they are all separate entities. I can celebrate one and be angry with the other, or sad with the other, which is the Sixers, or understanding the progress and the rebuild that the Flyers are going on. They're all their own sport. They're on their own team. Our man, Andrew DeCecco. Good morning, Andrew.
I do think that the Eagles sitting there at 32, there could be a team that wants to trade back into the first round to grab a quarterback now, whether that's a Jalen Milroe, whether that's a Jackson Dart. I do foresee a team looking to do that, and that could be maybe the Saints if they don't take Shador at 9.
Right.
I don't necessarily see the Eagles standing pat at 32. I think they're more likely to trade down, but if the board falls a certain way, trading up for Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, would be something that I feel like if he gets past the Chargers, past Jim Harbaugh, his former coach, that could be a spot where they view that player as being an option that they didn't foresee, and they go get him.
I think the over-under, by the way, is 11:43 for the sign-off.
Right.
So that's around when you can expect that pick to come down.
Could be a late night.
Howie may screw us all over.
He absolutely could.
Keep us up all night and then say, nah, we're good.
He absolutely could.
Take responsibility for all of
Hey,
that.
Cleveland, take the fifth-year option, and then the Eagles take the first pick in next year's in the
Yeah, let's
second
just
round.
sign that off now.
I'd do that
just
right
get it
now.
out of the way. Today is draft day. Today is a celebratory day.
It is.
For the NFL and the Philadelphia Eagles. I can separate that from my anger with the Phillies.
I like that you can do that because we all should be able to.
But some people, I don't know if it's can or can't, some people just don't care.
Or some people don't maybe want to.
Yeah, they'd rather just continue to live in the glow of the Eagles winning the
Right.
Super Bowl. And I understand it to a point, but here's my thing. If you're not angry or disappointed with the Phillies right now, or what happened with the Sixers this year, just because the Eagles won the Super Bowl, you are letting them off the hook. And you, as a fan, should not do that.
Well, the Sixers, I think people just, if you knew basketball, you knew they weren't winning it.
Right. But
They knew that this was a fairy tale.
to just say, see you next year. Like,
No.
Hold them to it.
Right.
That was the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show. Our last 2 hours, though, have been the two best hours. We've been hanging out
I
with
enjoy
Andrew
it.
DeCecco.
Oh, thanks.
Always
all right.
fun talking to
So
DeCecco.
we need the
Likewise.
official Andrew DeCecco selection at 32, if there is a selection.
So, yeah.
Is there a cat in there?
Eagles at 32 are taking cornerback Maxwell Harrison from Kentucky.
Wow, quarterback.
I'm fine with it. I said it earlier.
I assume we're living in the world in which they're staying at 32.
Right.
Yes.
So what's more
happens.
likely?
I think they
Harrison or trade out?
I think trade out. But if they hold firm at 32, I think Maxwell Harrison would be the best player available, and that's a position that they value as an organization. So
Okay, call comes from Cleveland. Comes from Cleveland, the Giants, or the Saints, wanting to get up into that 32 spot to go get their quarterback and get that fifth year. Do you think they could still get Hairston with that top?
no, I think right now he's.
So you'd have to have Cleveland's pick, be the first pick of the second round.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed to get it.
Now, you might like another corner like a Trey Amos or something like that from Ole Miss. They do like him, but if you want Hairston, I don't think you can do that job.
Okay.
All right. Listen,
Oh, man,
great
this is gonna
job
be a great
as
time
always,
tonight.
man.
I can't wait.
Tell them
and-
again, where's everybody going to go tonight?
Randall's Restaurant, the Legacy Club, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Myself, Bill Colarulo, who you're going to hear for the next 4 hours, and Tyrone Johnson, who you're going to hear from 2 to 6. It's going to be the best show in the city. I can't wait to deliver it to you. Can't
Beautiful,
wait.
Did I hear reservations too?
You don't need them.
Because
You don't need them, but
don't?
they're encouraged.
They're encouraged. So just so they know you're coming. Hey, FT Young Heating and Air Conditioning made a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research, and you should too. Go to 975thefanatic.com/AACR because I'm living proof 3 times over. Cancer research saves lives.
I'm framing my big board here, the Andrew DeCecco.
I'm going to
top
have it all
50
marked.
people.
I'm going
to shed a tear here,
No, I'm going to have a highlighter tonight highlighting each one.
I'm going to have this with me while we watch it. All right, everybody have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the draft tonight. Mike Missanelli show comes your way next with Bill and Ray. Your next chance to win $1,000 right at 10 o'clock. We will be back at it tomorrow morning
guys will
reacting
be.
to night one. Connor's, decided to take off
Hold
the
it down.
day.
I trust Howie
Decided
Roseman
to take off
regardless.
the day after the draft. Incredible, man.
I trust Howie.
Big
Flight faith.
football guy.